Hey guys, welcome back to the Be Better podcast. I'm here with a good friend of mine, Mike Lindner, for episode 11. Mike, thanks so much for coming.
Thanks so much for having me, man.
I want to start this off by saying we have tried to shoot this for 2 days now, and we just had the complete worst technical difficulties you can think of, right? I mean, typically I shoot things on my phone, as Mike saw first day, propped it up on a tripod. I thought I had 60 gigabytes of storage saved up. That 60 gigabytes of storage quickly went away. I mean, we got about an hour and a half into our last meeting, essentially, and it stopped recording. So we basically just botched the whole thing and we're just redoing it again. So this time I was very grateful. For Christmas this year, I asked for a nice podcast camera, and that's what we're using now. So I was very thankful to get that locked up. So I'm happy that you're going to be our first guest with our actual, I say, decent quality.
Episode 11, the redo.
Yeah, no shit. And also,
it was so good the first time. You guys are just never going to know. I think we solved all of the world's problems.
Yeah, cured cancer.
I was going to say cured cancer.
World hunger solved.
Yeah, we outsourced that. That's good.
And we put in our bid for nominee for president and vice president.
I think if Tony Stark were a real person, he would have been very impressed with how we engineered how to solve all the problems. But we'll do our best this time, guys.
We'll try our best.
So
we'll jump into it, man. So kind of crazy enough. I want to ask you some questions, of course, but I want you. I feel like we're doing this all again because
exactly.
For those people out there who don't know who you are, what you do, like what makes you tick, like give me a quick summary of like who you are in a nutshell.
Sure. So, as you said, Mike Lindner, who I am in a nutshell. If I had to sum it up, the majority of the last 20 years have been dedicated around one word, and that's coach. I found myself in a coaching position either in the corporate world, even as far as like doing corporate training rooms where like, hey, we got new hires, we have to onboard them, show them the ropes. I was involved in that pretty heavily for a while, mainly in a lot of insurance, medical side of things, specifically pharmacy as well. Did that with a few companies in the area, and then even in outside of the corporate world, fitness coach for a long time, jiu-jitsu coach for a long time. For a brief while, I worked with even churches with youth groups.
Oh, nice.
Did a little education in that as well. Mainly, and just kind of leading the youth ministries more than anything. But again, heavy component on education, coaching, developing, and so the last 20 years. That's basically been what I've done. Like, it doesn't matter in what capacity. Obviously, we work together in digital marketing and a sales background. There's a lot of coaching and development that you have along the way, both not what you're giving, but also what you're getting. And so what makes me tick is really what can I do to not just improve myself, but also improve the people around me. And that's always been my bread and butter core. Something on my bread and butter core list of principles I will always come back to is like, am I doing something that's making me better? And then if it is, how can I make other people better in the process as well? What can they get from this that I'm also seeing a benefit from?
Yeah, and I think, I know you said you've been a leader in some other roles too. Like,
yes.
I think that's the best way of leadership too, right? Whenever, like, I've always said it, man, like, anytime I've been in a leadership position, I would tell my guys, like, everybody on my team, if they're under me, you guys should be gunning for my job. And as I'm gunning for my boss's job, and as they should be gunning for their boss's job, all the way up to we reach the top of the mountain, right? Yeah. And when you breed a chemistry of leaders, right? If you breed a chemistry, like let's say you're a sales team leader, right? Mm-hmm. Or any team leader, right? And all you want them to be is underneath you. You want them to be like, clerks or pencil pushers. Then dude, like your team's going to be below average. But like if you have a bunch of teams who like want to be winners, want to be leaders, like want that progression, are ambitious, dude, you're going to create an atmosphere of just pure success.
Well, pick on my jiu-jitsu coach, JW Wright. He actually he said this a few times, especially the last couple months or so. I've heard him firing this off more than ever. Is he's not prepping you for like if you're a brand new day one white belt. For those of you who don't know, in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, the belts are real simple. It goes white, blue, purple, brown, black, right? And so as you level up in the ranks, obviously you get more skilled, you get more proficient, you get more comfortable, you learn new things, you implement what works, you discard what doesn't. But one thing he said was like, I'm not prepping you for the next belt. I'm prepping you for the black belt. Like I want you to get to that level. And then once we're all on that level, then you can explore and have a little bit of, of your own flavor. You can find your own little take on things, but at least learn the sequence of events, learn the process, learn all of the systems you can. And then from there, explore and grow up. But like that's how you do it in sales and leadership. Like you learn the systems, you learn the processes, and then you just go kill it. And then once you get to that next level, then what do? You go help other people get to that level. That's how you can really show that it works, because it's replicatable.
Yeah, absolutely. Replication is the huge one.
Yes.
Inconsistency in replication.
Yeah, because otherwise you're just the exception to the rule.
Right. I mean,
this doesn't work unless you are you.
Could you imagine like a different industry, right? Let's say like you have the world's best heart surgeon.
Yeah.
Okay? And he's like guaranteed, like, hey, if you come in under the knife for me, I'm saving your life, right?
Sure.
And then he just never fucking told anybody how he did it.
Right.
And then he just dies.
How would you advance modern medicine,
Well,
especially when you know you can save so many other people
it's
with
the same
your
concept
technique?
of like, the ancient Egyptians built the pyramids and now we don't know how they did it.
Right.
Like, great, dude. Like, now we're fucked.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, we have no clue how to rebuild it. Like, we can build these crazy skyscrapers, but like, they have no clue how to rebuild a pyramid of that caliber.
That still kind of bothers my mind a little bit too, because in 2023, you'd think like with all of the tools, all the tech at our disposal, somebody should have been able to engineer some shit. Like, we're literally making concrete out of hemp, and we can 3D print houses, but we can't figure out the pyramids. That's
we got to think, man. The human recording history side is like we've only recorded like 3% of. Like,
oh, for sure.
Right. So like more history and more tech, more knowledge, and like tricks of the trade has been forgotten than we'll ever learn.
And that's crazy.
It's fucking nuts, man. Too early to go down these rabbit holes, but there's a lot of.
Let's go.
There's a lot. I've read a lot of like conspiratorial history because it's really interesting. You ever heard of like the Tartarian Empire?
No.
So Tartarian Empire was basically like Russia in like anywhere between like the 1400s through I think the early 1600s, 1700s maybe.
Okay.
And basically they had a big regime change by the czars. I'm going to butcher this. Somebody's going to kill me in this conversation. I've only read it a couple times and it's just really, really cool. But anyway,
sure.
So the reason why I said is that we're in St. Louis and it has a lot of resemblance. So the 1904 06 World's Fair in St. Louis, it was Tartarian Empire themed. So do you know all those old buildings in Forest Park?
Yeah.
That had the big domes, like the beautiful architecture, right?
Sure, sure.
Well, a lot of the world used to look like that, okay? Like the Tartarian Empires were the ones...
So it's kind of a universal, like across the board.
Right,
right. Okay, so the same structure was...
Right. So,
it.
like, the Tartarian Empire were the ones who basically started all that architecture. And it was, like, all high-tech. Like, they had all this crazy futuristic high-tech, like, would be astounding for, like, today's time.
Right.
Okay? What happened was a series of civil unrest, some actual natural disasters, like some nasty avalanches and mudslides and earthquakes and shit basically destroyed their empire. And then the whole conspiracy is like the world government got together and was like, hey, these dudes are too good for us. Like, we need to bury them on the rug.
Right.
So now there's hardly any history about them yet. We're talking about forgotten history and like, these guys were able to do these incredible architectural feats. And then, they basically were just swept on the rug like it didn't happen because they didn't conform to the New World Order or whatever. The reason why I said about St. Louis was like a lot of our old buildings downtown were made by these Tartarian, influenced architects.
Okay.
Same thing happened in San Francisco. What happened to the World's Fair stuff there and here in St. Louis? Do you know? There was a mysterious fire that burnt down all the buildings. So weird, huh?
So it's almost like they're conveniently just trying to like go out and take all of those remnants away and
Yeah. So talking about forgotten history, like that's kind of the deal. And they were like, imagine the Dutch East India Company back in the day, right?
I've heard of this.
They were like the largest corporation ever. They were bigger than them.
Oh.
So they were like the world's largest. It was more of a corporation than a country.
Was it like a corporate competitiveness thing kind of deal?
I don't know. I've only read a couple brief articles about it, but I thought it was very, very interesting.
I will have to make a note and look into that at some point.
You sure? That's fucking wild.
That sounds crazy.
A lot of the domes and like the crazy, just beautiful old architectural stuff that you would see, like especially downtown St. Louis.
Yeah,
the influences are still there, and it's all from the Tartarian Empire, which is modern day Russia. One,
this is very interesting, and that's definitely something I'm gonna look up. But also, two, I couldn't help because as you were describing the architecture, I went through this thing recently where obviously it's early December, but not long ago we had Halloween, and so when they're showing all the old Halloween movies and shit, all I could think of was. This is how Ghostbusters started, right? It's the architecture of the building that's meant to do something else. And next thing you know, like do you want Gozer? Because I feel like this is how we get Gozer.
Yeah. Right. Which goes back to the pyramids, right? So like the pyramids.
He's vegan.
Crazy enough, right? The pyramids back in the day, there's multiple pyramids across the globe. And they're all linked up on a grid. Did you know that?
I have heard this.
The pyramids in South America are linked up to the pyramids in Egypt, to the pyramids in Asia that are covered by these dense forests.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the memes that they're linked up or what they share in common, but yeah, I know that there's like they're very specific. Yeah,
they're all linked up to these constellations in the stars.
Interesting.
And it's crazy enough. If you look at what a microchip computer looks like a microchip,
it looks like that.
It looks like the same grid as the pyramids spread out across the globe.
Interesting.
It's like the same fucking. Dynamic. It's absolutely wild.
It almost makes me wonder if, yes, it would be. I would love to know the beyond the conventional thought, beyond the conventional knowledge, reasoning for some of this stuff. But at the same time, I come back to like, there are times where sometimes just certain geometric shapes and certain math just works.
Oh yeah.
And it doesn't matter where you apply it. Like this shape is all, that's why like bridges are always structurally sound for the way that they support, you know, things like that. Like there's just universal laws of physics that like,
just makes sense.
If you just do this, this is the thing.
Yeah. Well, the Pythagorean theorem is like the biggest thing.
Right. Exactly.
Like that just makes, and I fucking hate learning that in math class, but like, if you look at physics side of it, it just makes the most sense.
Oh, that makes honestly, I love the Pythagorean theorem, especially when you're like trying to figure like alternate routes. Like you have a point here,
it just makes the complete most sense.
You just start making triangles. Like
you imagine how long, like just going back, like thinking thousands of years of history, because that was made by Pythagoras like 4,000 years ago or something crazy, right? Like, dude, you know how long it probably took people to get places because they didn't have that simple formula? Like, what should have been a 10-hour ride is now a 3-day adventure. Like,
right.
Because you just fucking didn't have the formula.
You have to go up here and then over here, and Pythagoras is like, I think that this
diagonal is the way to go.
Is shorter than both of those lines combined. And really it was like
oh, man.
This is where my wife would crack up. It's like, I think the Pythagorean theorem was found because he just got tired of asking for directions. His wife was like, honey, it's the map, right?
That's not a bad fucking thing. That's not a bad point. I'm sure there's probably some validity.
I feel like there's a lot of ancient history. See, you know what this reminds me of? This is a joke I heard years ago, and I'll try to sum it up quickly. But it's when this daughter is making her mom's famous pot roast, and you know, every time she would get the roast, she would cut off the ends and put it in the pan, put it in the oven. And her daughter asks, "Hey, Mom, why do you cut the ends off?" She goes, "Well, that's the way Grandma always did it. I don't know. Let me ask her." So she calls her mom and says, "Hey, Mom, you know when you made that pot roast? Yeah, why'd you always cut the ends off of it?" "Dang, honey, you know what? I never thought about that. Let me call your grandmother," because she was the one I got it from. So she calls her mom. "Hey, Mom, listen. I was speaking with so-and-so, and she was saying that, you know, we were trying to figure out like how to make your roast. And I know that she always cuts the ends off of it, and I always cut the ends off. Why did you always cut the ends off of the roast?" And the grandma replies with, "Well, that's how we got to fit in the damn pan." You know, it's like sometimes you don't realize these little things that you do were like, well, that's because of a specific modification that they needed, but you don't need that. And so how much time have you wasted, or how many times have you done things you're just like, oh, that was just the program. Right.
It's just nobody just ever thought to change it because it worked.
Yeah. And so I would wonder like how many little bits of like real world, well, that's just how the shit was, do we have that we built entire logic trains around, or like, oh, is that how Pythagoras figured out the theorem?
Or our bodies then, right? So like,
or that, yes.
For example, like you hear kids getting all the time appendicitis, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reason why is that some humans now we're evolving, right? So some humans are being born without appendixes. Why? Because your appendix back in the day was how humans helped digest raw meat.
Mm-hmm. Because
the enzymes that would be released in there would help break down the raw meat.
But since we're not using that as
because
much,
we cook our meat,
it's starting to die off in purpose. But exactly. Yeah, I had mine taken out when I was a kid, so
I was very lucky. I never had any issues with mine.
I've had zero problems with meat.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, right? Like let's say 200,000 years ago, right? Like the appendix was a crucial part of our diet.
It would have been very needed.
We weren't cooking meat, so we needed that to break down the meat, right? But yeah, so like you said, dude, like our bodies, we're still being born with appendixes, even though we don't really use
But now everybody, like I think anybody that's grown up in the last like 30 years has at least heard of the George Foreman grill. So I think we're good on the raw meat.
Dude, let me tell you something, man. I just started cooking probably like 5 years ago. Never really was good. Now I think I'm a decent cook. Dude, I remember we would come back, we'd go to my buddy's house, and his parents had one. Mm-hmm. His parents, like, they did pretty well, so like they always had everything you think of.
Sure.
Like the cool new shit you see on TV, like they had.
Right.
So we'd come home, we'd be drunk, whatever, walking around, and we'd be so hungry, and I'm like, Eric, did you have any food? He's like, dude, we have this George Foreman grill. I go, what the fuck is a George Foreman grill? He goes,
it knocks the fat out of food.
Dude, he goes, watch this. Gets these little frozen burger patties, dude.
Yeah, there it is.
Just like, and I was like, cool, dude. What do we do now? And he's like,
you wait.
He goes, dude, we do whatever the fuck we want. he goes, dude, we can do whatever we want. He's like, I was like, we can just leave this thing here? He goes, oh yeah. He goes,
well, I mean, yeah.
He's like, let's come back in 7 minutes. I was like, okay. What do we
get that shit down.
Yeah, we wouldn't like play a game of darts or like bumper pool or something. We played a game of Call of Duty, whatever, right? 7 minutes later.
Burger's done perfect.
Yeah, flawless burger's done. And I was like, oh damn, that sucks, man. I'm kind of hungry. I wish we could get more. I was like, I guess we just gotta clean it, whatever. He's like, no. He's like, dude, we could cook 100 burgers on here if we wanted to.
And you tried, didn't you?
We cooked probably 7 burgers a piece, 100%. So that, yeah, I was just like blown away. I was like,
oh, my wife and I lived off that shit when one of our first apartments we had, it was, I'm trying to think the first one we had. It was a combination of the Foreman the rice cooker, and then the little propane grill we had that was on our little back patio. I mean, I would grill when it was like -20, like, and we were eating like really, really good back at that time. But it was also really boring, like chicken, rice, and veggies all the time. But yeah, when we fired up the Foreman, it definitely, I will say, it had a very unique flavor to it because again, it's just 2 hot plates on there. But man, we made a bunch of shit and we ate good. And for the use we got, I think we literally just threw it away like a year or 2 ago because it was just taking up space that we just needed. So like, man, this kind of pains me, but like, I mean, that thing had a good run.
Yeah, you get you get 10 years out of fucking anything nowadays. I'm thankful. I
mean, we started dating in 2002. I think moved in together-ish. I want to say like 5, 6, somewhere in there. Like, I'm trying to think of when we had our first apartment. That's what's killing me. But whenever that was, I mean, we had that exact same George Foreman and the little fat catcher, or the dripping catcher, and the little like plastic molded griddle scraper thing that came with. Yeah, we had all of that, the exact same one, almost that entire time. And we only like it probably had to be at least 17 years old.
That's so. When did you guys get married?
We got married in 2008, but we had that thing for a couple years before. We had used the hell out of it.
So you've been married for about 15 years?
15 years this year, yeah.
That's fantastic. What's the secret?
Secret, a lot of communication, a lot of patience, and patience. Patience.
Yeah, in general. Let's say from who?
Probably more her to me, but definitely, I mean, Jen has the patience of a saint, especially dealing with our kids, because my son both kids have their own challenges in their own way and just their personality. But man, my son is pretty laid back and he's pretty quiet. He's definitely the introvert in the house. My daughter is like a little mini version of me in so many ways.
Fuck.
So it's like, well, now I'm kind of getting that in payback. So I'm sure my mom is cracking up every other phone call we give her. Would you believe what your granddaughter did? She's like, I got you. So Genevieve has to have a lot of patience for that alone. But yeah, it definitely is going to be more her giving the patience to everybody else more than because we don't have a lot, and I feel bad. But that's something that is definitely a work in progress. But I think just the honesty to be open to, hey, I do need to work on these things. You know, that buys a lot of grace too. Like, so if you're butting heads over something, and it's like, look, I know I'm doing better at trying to explain myself. It forces me to take that extra second and go, hold on, we talked about this. I need to do this, and this.
Yeah, for
sure.
Yeah,
I mean, I think those are really the secrets. If you have good communication, and I mean like really good, open, honest communication, and you're just willing to give your partner grace, like that's 90% of the battle.
For sure, I would agree with that. I mean, I'm a newly married man. I've been married about 6 weeks, and you know, like we've experienced some hurdles already, which to be expected, right? And I think one thing that we try to really work on is just like when things get tough, right? Because this world's a tough place.
Yeah.
When things get tough, just like to bring it back. Hey, this is not a me versus you. This is a us. This is a us. This is the Lindners versus everybody else.
Yeah.
Right. Kind of against the world essentially. So this is not a me versus you. Like, let's work collaboratively against this. It's not a competition in our marriage.
Yeah.
Like we're not striving. Like I'm not striving to be the best husband. You're striving to be the best wife. I'm just trying to make it happen, right? Like, that's how she feels too. So, the communication level I think is very underutilized in that regard, man. Because people, like for me, I'm a pretty reserved guy. Like I don't like to talk about like what I feel.
Right.
I just like, and my emotions are I wear on my fucking sleeve. If I'm mad,
you're gonna know immediately, right?
I'm pissed off. I'm pissed off. If I'm in a good mood, I'm in a good mood. So, but like to be able to kind of just pull back those layers and just kind of be. Welcome back, guys. Sorry about that. Had another technical difficulty. Trying to work out the kinks with the new camera, but I swear this will probably only happen about 15 more times. So bear with us there. Mike, thanks so much for being patient, though.
It's like whenever you open up the new toy on Christmas, like, you're bound to like miss a screw or pop something now and then. You're like, gosh, crap, what do we do now? So,
what's the worst experience you had with something like that? New toy and you just fucked it up on the first day.
I don't remember as far as like new toys when I was a kid. I did watch. I'm trying to think where this happened exactly, but I remember I watched a kid open like a new toy car, like an RC car, and then literally like he was driving around and it got a good head start and just crashed and like both the wheels just split in different directions and it was dead. I mean, like on that day, the thing had just got new batteries in. We finally got like those last little bit of security plastics of like pull this so the batteries could make the connection and fire up. We got all of those out and then crashed. It was maybe 3 minutes out of the box. Just boom, wheels out to the sides and went, wow, cool, this looks like an accident on 44.
So I think I had a beat. When I was like 10, my grandmother and grandpa at the time, they got me like this little moped. It was like a 25cc kids moped, right? Really, really fucking cool. And 25cc little moped, just enough to fit like one person on. Yeah. Went out into the alleyway, to drive it. And I drove it, and I'm like, once again, I'm like 10 years old, I have no clue what I'm doing.
Sure.
I drive it, and I have my pads on, helmet, knee pads, kids are. Driving it, and then like I did the death wobble.
Oh no!
And then just boom, and the fork of it, just right now.
Oh no!
Right yeah, it was really, really bad. So,
that would be heartbreaking for a few reasons.
It was like a $600 toy back then, so maybe like a $900, $1,000 toy now.
Probably more.
And then on the other side of it too, man, I saw this video of this girl. It's like, you guys can look it up. It's actually really funny. This little girl had this toy where like it was a fairy. And she pulled the ripcord and then like
oh yeah, one of the like helicopter things.
Yeah, like helicopter thing. Well, she was by the fireplace.
Oh no!
Pulls the cord and it just goes right into the fireplace and just because it's all plastic and it dies and shit.
Oh,
so it just goes in big flame and
it's toast.
Yeah.
Oh, the poor girl.
Oh, what do you? So that's kind of what we're going through. We're going through like these pre-game jitters for the new products, but.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, as you start a new endeavor, I mean, obviously the podcast is fairly new in the grand scheme of things. Like, you're going to go through an evolution. And I've seen guys that start their own show, and it was nothing more than like, it was almost like an audio recording. And next thing you know, now they have video, and then now they've got a studio, and now they've got like everything is mic'd up. And so, like, as you grow, like, if you can't roll with those punches and grow that, I mean, what are we doing?
You're right.
Kind of what we were talking about a second ago. Like, what's the secret? Like, being able to roll the punches is another big one, too. And that's just not like relationships and marriage, but like your job, your personal life, like how you interact with it. You're going to get stuff that's a curveball that you cannot control. So just do the best with what you can.
Yeah, I completely agree. I want to segue into something that actually really is interesting that you did. So, for those who don't know, we shoot the podcast here in my house. When Mike rolled up, I said, "Hey man, I'm ready for you to come in." He goes, "Hey, give me 2 minutes. I'm doing some breath work." And I opened the door. You probably didn't even know this, but I opened the door. I looked at you, and you were literally like dialed in the zone. Could you? So for those out there, I know we're going to talk about this a lot later, but I want to kind of jump into it now.
Sure.
For those out there, like myself, who aren't really familiar with the concept, the purpose, the action of breath work, like what exactly were you doing? What was the purpose of that? And like, what are the results?
So I got into breath work. Let me just start with that. I'm going to give the 30,000 foot view, and I'll start getting a little more granular. So I got into breath work officially. I think I was exposed to it back in it's been about 10 years now. Good friend of mine goes by the name of the Iron Tamer, Dave Whitley. He is a phenomenal coach, mentor, great friend of mine. He went and did a certification with Wim Hof. And so he learned the Wim Hof method, the deep breathing, the cold exposure, the ice bath, the whole nine. And as I started listening to what Dave was doing with it, it was very fascinating that such a simple method was able to bring calm, focus, energy. Dave was actually able to use his breath. And I mean, literally, he could put his hand on you and not like, just it's skin to skin, it felt warmer. I mean, he would touch your hand, he would do some breathing, he would touch it again like a minute later or 2 minutes later. And he was like very hot to the touch. I mean, it was like, dude, like, his hand felt feverish. And so being able to manipulate certain systems in the body for whatever you're wanting to do, it was all through breathwork. It was very fascinating to me. I rediscovered it again. I mean, I've been doing it since then, kind of off and on, just dabbling in it. But getting down into it as far as learning the mechanisms of how one style affects these, these type of effects on the body, how doing things this way affects this type of system on the body or this type of output. I can speed up or activate. I can kind of get my brain focused and balanced. I can, relax and downregulate, if you will. Learning how to do those things whenever I want, starting to take control of some of my systems was very interesting to me from, again, going into the coaching perspective, because how many times have we had like a very high stress day planned where you're like, you've got meetings back to back to back to back, and you can't necessarily be super energized and over caffeinated where you're short of breath and you're not getting the right information out, you're jittery and you're shaking. That's more likely to lead to anxiety and nervousness. Obviously, if you're proficient with it, you have the reps, it's different. But being able to look at those high stress situations and just control how I feel and how I perceive things just with my breath, it's a game changer. So some of the results, being able to manage those situations, or, you know, kind of what we talked about before. Let's say, you know, my wife and I are arguing. If in the middle of the conversation, you know, she sees me kind of going, and I'm starting to slow the breath down, now I'm bringing myself out of that. Okay, I feel myself getting angry. I feel myself wanting to fire off something, but I know logically I need to not. So this is how I can take the reins and pull things back in my favor. Or, you know, at least but from my emotional standpoint, right? That was the biggest reason I discovered breath work. So what I was doing out in the car was every day I try to do at least some form for about 15, 20 minutes of breath work in the morning. It doesn't matter if it's a Wim Hof session, if it's something I come up with on my own, if it's something another coach I saw create for one thing or another. A lot of it is just kind of get the energy up and moving. And so a lot of the techniques I do before interviews, before meetings of any kind, appointments, doesn't matter. I will always do something to bring the mind to a state of focus and calm. And that's the first thing I'm trying to do. So that way, I feel like I can navigate those conversations more efficiently. Typically, I'm more engaging. So I'm probably more interesting to talk to, more focused. But this way, I don't have to have super crazy amounts of stimulants, or I don't have to be super medicated up, or, you know, or I'm up or I'm down, or I'm not really coherent, but I feel good, but I don't. You know what I mean? I know I'm just kind of rambling a little bit now, but
no, I get
that's what I was really doing, is just bringing the focus into it. And the cool thing is, breathwork is like the only modality where you can have those conversations between your conscious and your subconscious mind, and you can really start to rewrite how you perform and how you perceive things through breathwork.
So you could do a breathwork session in a minute or two?
You could do it as simple, I mean, it could be as quick as a few seconds to a few minutes. I've even gone on longer, I guess you could call them like journeys, where you're going like 60 minutes and above. I thought the longest session I've ever done straight through was about 2 hours.
Let's do one.
Like right now?
I've never done one. Yeah.
Awesome. So here's what
I'm like fucking peaked interest right here. Right? So for me, like like I told you before, my bandwidth of my brain is like this.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like a fucking the Energizer Bunny just beating the fuck out of the drum, right?
Yeah.
I need whenever I go to the gym and I'm working out, it's normal. Right. It's normal. When I sit in the sauna, it's even slower because I'm able to just kind of like focus on my breathing, and just relax, and, you know, fight the heat kind of deal. I don't really know any other remedies to kind of get me from going to this, like, to a more...
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
regulate it down.
I would love to walk you through, like, because not everybody's going to be able to watch this. Some people are going to dial in, you know, audio.
This one is actually just going to be about a minute long, so I could literally take you through the full thing in about a minute here.
And talk to me like you're teaching like a baby.
Exactly, yeah, brand new. So first thing I want you to do, go ahead and just like let your back rest against the chair, and then kind of adjust there where you need. What I'm going to have you do is I want you to focus on, just kind of put your hand on your chest and your hand on your belly. Okay. Now, as just go and look forward, close your eyes, and I just want you to start really focus on breathing in as much air as you can on the inhale, and then letting it just completely, don't force it out, but just let it fall away. So if you're breathing in...
So breathing in through my nose?
I want you to go through your mouth on this one. Okay. So you're going to go through the mouth, and just let it fall. Yeah, so we're not forcing everything out. Keep doing that, same rhythm, same pace. Good. Good. Now, as you're doing that, I want you to start bringing awareness. Make sure that the hand on your belly is the one you feel moving before your chest. So just like when you pour water into a pitcher, it fills from the bottom up, right? The air is going to be no different. So your pitcher is going to be your entire torso. You're going to fill into your belly and then up to your chest, and then it should almost reverse on the way down. So. There you go. Good. Get a good rhythm for that a few times, and then I'm going to guide you through. So, yeah, as you're doing that, I'm watching. This is where, as the coach in me kicks in, now I'm watching the mechanics, right? So I want you to keep that same rhythm. Just focus on a really big pull in, and then let it drop. Good. All the way in. Really feel your ribs, your belly expand. Good. Okay, your belly should feel tight, and then let it pull up into the chest for that overflow. And right when you feel that expand, just let it fall. Okay. You know? It's almost like you're picking up all the sand on the beach and just dropping it, right? Yeah. So do that like 3 more breaths. Good. And I got a timer queued up over here on my end. So what I'm going to have you do as you keep doing that, I'm going to walk you through a few things. Okay? As you're doing that, when I tell you go, I want you to really focus on pulling air in and we're going to go fully in and just let it fall. Okay, and we're going to do this in 3 sets. It's going to be 10, 20, 30. You're going to go 10 breaths, and I'm going to have you hold. So you're going to pull all the way on your last breath. You're going to go, and you're going to hold for 10 seconds. Okay, then you're going to do the same thing. You're going to go 20 breaths, and you're going to hold for 20 seconds. Then you're going to go 30 breaths, and then you can hold for 30 seconds. I'll probably just stop it there. You could continue to hold that longer, and then you'll notice that you're gonna feel a little buzzy at some point.
I'm feeling a little lightheaded now, but it's just because my body's not used to getting.
You're not used to the pattern, correct? Yeah. And so what'll happen is you're gonna feel super energized. You might feel a little tingly. That's okay. It's totally normal. You're safe.
But you're just breathing. Exactly.
The biggest thing to remember is that one, if you're gonna pass out, sitting down is probably a safe place to do it. When I do sessions, I can be sitting on the floor or on a couch. It's really hard for me to fall anywhere when I'm here, right? And so I feel safe in that regard. But yeah, if you feel it tingly or if it feels cold around your fingers or your mouth, that's okay. That's just a lot of like exchanges of carbon dioxide and oxygen going through the blood. But this is a really good technique if you need like kind of that quick little snap, that little jolt of energy. I've heard some people refer to it as like a coffee substitute. I do love my coffee. I'm one of those weirdos that loves the flavor of it, so I don't think I could ever replace it.
So there's 3 levels here. For my own sanity, I don't want to pass out. That'd be really weird to do on the podcast.
Yeah, don't do that.
No, you will level 1. We'll do the 10-second one, or the 10.
Well, no, you're going to do the whole 10, 20, 30.
Oh, you have to.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you'll see why in a second here. So what I want you to do, go ahead and take a deep breath in, just out through the nose. Let it out. Okay. One more. Good. All the way out. Good. Now breathe all the way in, and I want you to push all the air all the way out, and then we're going to go as soon as you do this. Good. And in. Out. In through the mouth.
All right.
Yep. All the way. Ready. Go. Out. 1. 2. Bigger breath. 3. 4. That pace. Go. Keep going.
I'm already feeling a little light.
Yeah, keep going. You're fine.
Well.
You're safe. You're safe. 5. All the way in. 6. 7.
Hold on, dude.
Keep going. No,
it's killing me, man.
You're good. You're good. Keep going. 8. 9. Okay. Now one big breath all the way in. Push it all the way out. Don't breathe in. 10 seconds. It's technically 11. That's all right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Again. In. Out. In. Out. All the way in. All the way out. Good. Keep it going. All the way in. Keep going. Good. 5 more. 4, 3, 2, 1. All the way in.
It's wild, man.
All the way in and all the way out. Don't breathe in. 20 seconds. I'm going to stop you after this one. Just sit there for a minute. Try not to breathe in. Don't shift anything. Just sit still. You just hit the halfway point. Ah.
Oh, sorry.
Ah.
I'm so used to it.
That's all right. There's 2. But it's fine. Yeah, so you get the idea. I mean, it's just, by doing that, you felt that like a little lightheaded or whatever.
Well, I feel like a reset.
It is exactly right. And so, like, using something like that, I like that method. I learned it as 10, 20, 30 method. I'm sure there's other names for it out there as well. I've heard Wim Hof called by a few different things by a few different people. But manipulating the in and the out, whether it's through the mouth, through the nose, those are going to elicit different responses in the body. And so what I'm trying to do is when we are really stressed, what's the first thing we do? We're hyperventilating, right? And so we know hyperventilating comes from a time of stress.
Right, because
like
your body's going into like a prelim, fight or flight. Your body thinks that, hey, my muscles need more oxygen, so you're breathing heavy to get the oxygen quick.
Exactly. It's that whole idea of like, hey, if you hear the tiger growling behind you, you're going to have that, oh shit, you immediately gasp. Or like if you're walking on the street and a car goes by, we immediately inhale super fast, and so it promotes that stress.
That's so crazy.
But with the off-gassing and allowing all that oxygen to build up and then just sit there with no air and be still for a second now that you have it all built up, what's happening is that carbon dioxide is actually useful to help release oxygen into the blood as well. So by allowing the CO2 to build up a little bit and balance it with those holds, where you're getting the super oxygenated state and then you're kind of balancing it back out again, that's why you're able to go back with that calm or that reset, like you said. So using that in different situations has been a really, really fun thing for me, not just in the fitness world, but I've also got clients of mine that are business professionals as well. And so right before a big presentation or a big sales meeting, or, hey, we're working with a client that wasn't really that happy with us today, you know they're stressful by nature. Being able to control how you navigate that stress is a massive, massive advantage. You know, it's a massive tip in your favor. And so why not give that to people?
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying.
Right.
I mean, I understand the science behind it and the premise. It makes all good sense. But,
Yeah.
you know, just somebody who just did it very briefly here, a guy, you know, not saying like, oh, it's a placebo. No, man, like there's a noticeable difference there.
Yeah.
And I think like, you know, for me, I always get like that. What time is it? God bless. 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
Let's say.
Yeah.
I always get like 2 o'clock lunch. You know, like I want a nap at 2 o'clock kind of deal.
Oh yeah.
Like, so I'm going to try this tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm going to give this a try tomorrow. And you know, when I'm feeling 2 o'clock and I get a little tired, I'm just going to try that because like I feel a little more energized, man. I think it's because you're shocking your system, right? It's like it's like a quick jolt to the system. So now I can see why people were like, oh shit, you know, I don't need to drink a cup of coffee. I can just do this. It's the same idea as the cold plunge.
It's exactly, I mean, there's different things that are happening in a different way, of course, because it's a different stimulus. But yeah, being able to use something that gives you that jolt. And again, you're in complete control in a cold plunge because the nice thing is you get in and yes, it's painful and it hurts at first and it's very uncomfortable. But as you learn to cope and as you learn to sit still with that, that's when you start that adaptation of, oh, I can handle this. And for some people, just 30 seconds in a cold plunge or even in a cold shower first thing in the morning, that's all they need to get going. And it will wake you up. I mean, there's a lot of science when you start getting the norepinephrine going, all the oxytocin, the dopamine hits and releases in the body. Yeah, those things are designed to help you get fired up and motivated.
Okay, stop.
Yes.
Let me ask you there. So you do the cold shower stuff, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I have been I'm such a bitch about it, man. I've been toying, I'm just going to be honest, right?
Yeah.
I've been toying with the idea for months.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, literally for probably I'd say 8 months. I've been like, dude, just go buy a fucking galvanized tub and fill it with ice water every day. And as soon as you get up, because like my room is above us and I have a balcony to my room, essentially.
Okay.
I was like, dude, I can throw it on the balcony, open my sliding glass door, jump in, my shower's right there. When I'm done, just hop in the shower. Let me ask you this. So I work out some days, 6 o'clock, 5:45 in the gym.
Okay.
Could you give me the proper cadence? Should I go wake up, cold shower / cold plunge, then go to the gym?
That would definitely do it.
Or should I go to the gym, come back, cold plunge, shower?
For the way I always look at stuff, I don't necessarily think that there's a downside because I mean I can make arguments for the reduction in inflammation post-training. So that's
my thought.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a good thing, but one thing I will also say is that inflammation is not always bad either because, and there's a few different places that I'll pull this from, but the more recent one that I've heard is if you go on YouTube, the channel Renaissance Periodization with Dr. Mike Lindner, if you're looking to be, like, let's say you're a bodybuilder and you're looking to just put on as much muscle as possible, you actually don't want to diminish that inflammatory response because you need that to grow muscle. Right? And so, like, if you're just stripping it all away, you're not getting as much growth potential. And again, this is where, like, I'll default to his science and say, like, he's going to be able to show it and break down a little bit more intelligently than I will. But it makes a lot of sense. Like, if you need that lactic acid to say, like, okay, it's a little tighter, I feel that soreness. If it's debilitating, then yeah, maybe jump in for like 30 seconds or whatever. But if you're trying to really just pack on size, you probably don't need to do it as often, or maybe separate it from the session a little bit more. If you're just going in for general fitness and it's just part of the routine of like, hey, I go to the gym, I work out, and then I get cleaned up and ready for my day, if that's what helps you get up and get going, I would probably lean just to say maybe start it before the workout because you're going to feel, I mean, your blood's going to get going. You're going to have a lot of also other feel-good, stuttering here, you're going to have a lot of other feel-good hormones going through the body post-workout as it is. Yeah. You can probably just shower and go about your day after that.
Well, you know what I've run into for me, like, and everybody's got body chemistry is different. Like, for me, right, especially in the winter, I feel like when I go to the gym and it's cold outside and, like, I'm driving to the gym, like, I feel like I'm like the Tin Man without oil for the first, like, probably 3 or 4 reps because my body's cold, right?
That makes sense, too.
Let's go from a cold start. So what I'll do sometimes, like, I'm religious. Every time I step foot in that goddamn gym, sauna at the end.
Okay.
I'm religious with it. I have to. It's for my mental health. It's for my body health. I feel like $1,000 when I walk out there, right? And sometimes if I'm really cold start, I'll do the sauna for like maybe half the time before.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I feel like, though, you get the same effect with the cold plunge. So I wonder, for me personally, if it would be beneficial for me do the cold shower, right, or the cold plunge, because basically your body has to, like, your internal, not your metabolism, but what is it? Your core, essentially, it has to fire itself up over time.
Oh,
so
your core temperature?
Right.
Yeah.
And before you die of hypothermia, you feel hot as fuck.
Okay.
Because did you know that?
I've never died of hypothermia, sorry.
Okay. So, when you experience hypothermia, right, like before it gets really bad, there's like 3 stages.
I've heard of that, yeah.
You get really, really, really warm.
Right.
Also, same thing happens when you drown. I actually almost drowned.
Oh, no kidding.
I almost died, yeah. I almost drowned. I was underwater for like...
Did you feel like super like hot?
Warm.
Okay.
Yeah, super warm, and I got lucky I was saved. But crazy enough, they say before you drown and you die, like before you die by drowning, you feel like it's very chaotic, you're fighting, your body's trying to fight for survival.
Oh, yeah.
And then eventually your body gives up and is like, hey, this is just your fate.
It's acceptance.
It's acceptance, and you get blissful and you get warm. And that's what happened to me. My body was like, okay, like my brain was telling my muscles to move and they weren't moving.
Well, and that's another, on a side note, that's one reason why breathwork practitioners, and there's a big controversy with it surrounding Wim Hof specifically, but like the idea of when you watch him do his videos and stuff, you'll see like those videos of him like swimming under glaciers and stuff, and apparently, I don't remember the exact context, but I guess there was like a conference where they had a bunch of people studying his method, or he was giving a presentation, and so he led us a round of his style or his work there with everyone there. And as they're breathing, when they got to the breath hold, they played this video of him swimming under the glacier. It was one of his record-breaking feats, but it was a video timed for 60 seconds, which is all they wanted them to do. You're not supposed to practice breath work near water. Like the idea is like you really should not be doing this by yourself near water, because when you get enough oxygen built up, when you start the hyperventilation, you can actually turn off the response or diminish the response where you feel the need to breathe. So that's why, like, as you go, and I've noticed this myself, if I can go 5 rounds of Wim Hof, especially in higher, like, rep ranges of, like, instead of 30 breaths, I'm doing 50. When I get to, like, round 3, as I'm holding without air, I've gone to 2.5, almost 3-minute breath holds where no air, and I didn't feel that, like, I need to breathe or I'm going to die. I'm very calm. I'm very almost detached in a way, and so it allows you to deal with that stress. I hit one day where 2 minutes hit the clock and I'm just staring at it, just watching comfortably. I go, I should probably breathe now. And so I just stopped around, like, I feel good. So yeah, like I can see where, like, if your body is struggling and it burns up all that oxygen and there's that CO2 buildup, I can see where the acceptance part is just your breath hunger response just turns off.
Yeah.
That's where people are drowning. So, like, if anyone's practicing breath work at home after this, don't do it near water, please, especially unsupervised. It's just a recipe for bad things.
Well, you can have shallow water blackouts.
I mean, exactly what's happening.
Yeah, there's 1,000 fucking... I watched this a couple of documentaries about, like, Navy SEAL training and things like that. Like, now, thank God, the system, the medical system there, when they train, it's very, very thorough, right? They may have lifeguards every, like, 8 feet or something. But, guys will go through and they'll have shallow water blackouts and drown, or almost drown if the guy wasn't there to save them.
Exactly.
And, I agree with you, man. So please, if you do breath work, which I'm actually going to recommend, obviously, I'm going to learn as much as I can from you.
Thank you.
I will make sure the closest thing water I have near to me is a bottle of water. So.
Yeah, and that's fine. And I mean, it comes down to just some basic common sense stuff. Like, I mean, for me personally, if you're going to start it, a chair like this, or like laying flat on your back, even in your bed, it's a nice, safe place, because then if you pass out, we're already laying down, so you can't really fall any further than the floor.
Probably don't do it in a tree stand.
I wouldn't do it. Definitely don't do it when driving. Like you said, you saw me do it in my car. The car was parked, right? And I mean,
and you had your seatbelt on too, still. I think.
No, I think I might take it off by day, because I think that sometimes I'll play with like reclining or leaning back, and so like sometimes I'll sit more upright, and then as I do my hold, I'll just kind of lay back and let the body relax. I've had different thoughts on that one way or the other, and then, honestly, I notice I'll get longer holds if I start upright and I'm really active with it, and then I just release and I just kind of give in and relax and just I'm gonna sit here for 2 minutes without breathing.
Sure.
And by the time I'm done, again, I've got all that energy going from the body. I've got all that natural, like I'm jacked up, I'm ready to go, but I'm calm and I'm focused, and I can really be present and attentive to what's going on around me.
So you're kind of a hybrid beast here, man. Like, obviously you do your coaching stuff, right? Mm-hmm. But obviously a lot of that is stemmed from. So you're a killer in the business.
Yes.
When it comes to working on the business, I know you're a killer as well. You have a strong sales background like I do.
Yeah.
And, we're both fucking machines at our roles.
We've had that office we shared, yes.
Yeah, we killed it, man. We fucking killed it. Can't believe we worked for
100% of the deals I worked on with him all closed.
That is true.
So, yes, right.
We had a 100% success ratio. I can't ever ask for more than that. Well, when you work, there's a lot of good reps that we worked with, man. Like, for some reason, like, our chemistry just didn't make sense.
That's true. And I think that's the big thing. And it doesn't matter what job or what company it is. Like, there's always going to be a time where it's just not a good fit.
Yeah.
And not every job is for every person. I like the idea that at least every person can get a fair shake at it. I like the fact that even if you have two candidates that are very, very equally qualified for a position, one person is probably just going to be a better fit. It might be the dynamic of the team. It might be just the position itself. Might be their experience. Maybe they got something out of it different than the other person. But, to be able to balance that, and more importantly, just like with the communication thing, just being honest with yourself and saying, I can look in the mirror and tell myself, yeah, I'm really good at this and I enjoy it. And that right there could be the X factor. If you have two people that are identical, they're both crushing, but one person hates their job, they won't last. Yeah. They will find a way to go to something that they do enjoy, because human beings are not designed to constantly do something that makes us miserable all the time. We're going to find a path of least resistance or more fulfillment. Yeah,
you're so right. And like going back to that too, like, remember Ken on my team,
Mm-hmm.
me and him worked a couple deals together, but like, and Ken's a killer too. He's a fucking awesome rep and a great guy. His selling style was so different to mine. Like, we just didn't blend. Me and you, we sell the same.
Yeah.
So we sell with morals and ethics, and if it makes sense, it makes sense. If it doesn't, that's okay.
That's right, Ken. If you're watching this, we know you don't have.
Oh, sorry, I didn't do that way. Sorry.
No. I saw the opportunity for the bad joke. I took it. So Ken, you're fine.
God bless. Sorry.
We love you, buddy.
No, Ken sells the morals and ethics.
Ken is a very ethical dude.
He's a sweet.
That was my mentor, actually.
Oh, that's right. It was. Yeah. But anyway, so. Like our style.
I feel like if anyone's going to talk shit, the student can talk shit on the teacher.
Right? Who knows if you're watching this? But, but his selling style just didn't match mine.
Right.
Ken is very logical and like matter of fact, and I'm more of I'll hit the heartstrings a little bit, and if it makes sense, it makes sense. Right?
Exactly.
I'm more of like hey man, I want to hear your goals and ambition, and like I'm going to create your plan how to get there. Ken's like,
I actually enjoyed both of you guys doing that.
Yeah,
because he did do that.
It's just different how he does it. It's
the
same idea.
He would take a very logical step of like, oh, this is your dream. Well, here's how we reverse engineer it.
Exactly.
And you might be like, hey man, I know you feel that this is the goal, so let's work in that direction. So you might play a little bit more on the emotional side. He would play more logical, and sometimes you switch.
No, for sure.
Because I've seen, and that's not to cut you off too much, but like, I think to be able to have the maturity of knowing when to switch your style is a big thing, especially in sales.
Yeah.
Or bring somebody else in that's like, hey, I don't sell to this industry very often, but I know you do. And even if our styles are so similar, we could approach 100 deals the same way. Knowing more about a particular industry is insightful to me, where I'm going to take a back seat and say, let me watch you drive for a minute.
Well, a lot of it too is just like, even like just the lingo.
Yes.
Like, like if I'm talking to, like Tom Gilliland on my team, one of the best guys around. He killed it with lawyer clients, like attorneys.
Oh, yeah.
He killed it. I never brought on one attorney client. Why? Because I don't know their industry very well.
Right.
I mean, I never had any good success. I made a couple calls to them when I was early in my career, and they are very smart. Lawyers are very, very smart, but a lot of them are very egotistical too. So you have to kind of match that energy, and you have to not waste your time. Well, I'm like an early sales rep, fucking doesn't know I don't know the phone from my asshole. And, I called this law office somewhere.
You never got past the front desk?
No, I got past the front desk. I got to the attorney.
Oh, nice.
And the attorney was just like, kid, what are you doing? I was just like, hey, sir, this is the worst fucking, this is before I became a fine-tuned machine.
Right.
But, so ever since that moment, I was like, yeah, man, these lawyers just might be too smart for me. But they're not too smart for Tom. Because Tom fucking killed it with them.
Well, and again, when you know the lingo and you know the industry a little bit, you can kind of sift through the bullshit.
Oh, yeah. Tom could say everything, every phrase, every keyword, everything that they'd want to hear. Like, Tom had 40 clients in the attorney space. So, he killed it, man. And, all the programs were very, very good. They were all happy with Tom. They loved Tom, He did a great job. He checked all the boxes across the whole, across the whole spreadsheet. So I learned a lot from him. But, I was like, Tom, I said, listen, man. In the event I ever get messed up with a fucking attorney's office, I'm calling you right away. There's no doubt about it.
Well, and I think it's funny, too, because there's certain questions that you ask that automatically just gives your knowledge base away.
Sure.
And I'm sure Tom probably had that where, he had built up such a rapport with that vertical that when you're saying, hey, I'm having these problems, he knows immediately why. because you're asking those questions.
Yeah.
I see this in jiu-jitsu all the time. I'll have guys that'll ask, like either myself or one of the other coaches that's way more advanced than myself. They'll say, hey, I'm having a problem with X position. And within seconds they're going, what's happening? Oh, I'm not able to do it because my opponent's doing X, Y, Z. Oh, okay. You need to put more time into this. And sometimes it's almost like people take it as a brush off answer when you say, I need you to go spend more time with it. Because sometimes if you just haven't gotten enough reps in to really understand what the process is, then you need to go trust the process more.
Yeah.
Then when I know you've done that point, okay, now we can fine tune, like you said. Like you have to build a machine before you can fine tune a machine.
For sure. So like my niche was like kind of roofing companies back
Yes.
then. Like I fielded with roofing companies. And like I come from a family where
I think even just the general contractor space.
GC for sure, right? Like I'm not very handy myself. Like I'm not a GC, but like I know how their business works very well.
And you speak the lingo.
And I speak the lingo, right?
Yes.
Like I come from a family of GCs. Like my uncle,
know.
My uncle Dan was a roofer for like 45 years. Like the dude could tell you anything. I mean, the dude could fix anything. My uncle Dan is one of the greatest guys of all time. And he's the sweetest dude in the world. He's a loving, caring man. And he's just a hardworking guy. Like, when I bought this house, I had to rebuild my deck. My Uncle Danny's like 66, 65 years old. I told him I had to rebuild the deck. He's like, well, don't hire a company. He's like, I'll bring a buddy over and we'll just do it in a weekend.
Yeah.
And what happened? We went to Home Depot. I dragged a trailer. I bought like $5,000 worth of lumber. And Uncle Danny and his buddy Tom, who's 75, 10 years older than him, I think.
Got it done the weekend, didn't
we? No. Like, I did all the heavy lifting, of course.
Oh, yeah. Because you got a 65 or 75 year old.
Exactly. So, like, the beams and the big, the boards and all that shit that had to be carried up the stairs. I did that. Great. But, like, as far as, like, the cuttings, the measuring, the how to do it, where to do it, where to screw this in, where to make it secure there, he just has done it so many times, he knows everything.
Yeah, exactly.
And, so whenever we rebuild my deck, like, I'm talking to him like I'm talking to a client because it's my family.
Right.
And, I can't give enough praise to Uncle Dan. He's the best.
Yeah.
But, no, to go to that point, dude, like, when I would ask the roofing clients, like, they get calls from marketing companies all the time.
Yeah.
Hundreds of them, right? When I'd ask these marketing guys, or these roofing guys, they say, hey, man, who do you use for a supplier, ABC or Beacon? They've never been asked that question.
Okay.
They've never been asked that question.
And they probably don't have anyone that knows that.
Right.
Those are suppliers.
You would only know that.
You would only know that if you've been in the
business.
Right.
You know the business, right? So I'd say 90, probably 75%, 80% use an ABC, Supply Co.
Okay.
And then the other percent, let's say 10% of that uses Beacon. And then the other 10% is like a Roofer's Mart or something, or maybe Menards, something small. But what I did to get a leg up on the game is that if I knew I was calling into an area, like let's say I knew I was calling into like Texarkana, right, for whatever, and I wanted to work with a roofing client, I would figure out where the ABC or the Beacon is there. Okay. Now I would call ABC or Beacon and I'd say, hey, what product do you guys push primarily? And he goes, well, at this location we only have an Owens Corning rep, so we only push Owens Corning's product.
Okay.
I would get on a first name basis with that OC rep. Okay. Because now I'd be able to get them co-op dollars through OC. Okay.
Oh,
remember me telling you about
right. Yeah, I remember you did tell me about
that. But on the other side of that, so I'd get them co-op dollars, so their marketing budget would be essentially free for the most part, or at least paid up to,
That was always one strategy I never really pushed enough.
But what I would do as well,
that's clever though.
When I would cold call these companies, right? Let's say it's Mike's Roofing in Texarkana.
Sure.
I would say, hey man, do you, we'd get in the pitch or whatever, the talk, even just the appointment call, just to kind of show that I know what I'm talking about.
Right.
Is I would say, hey, who do you go to, ABC or Beacon? He goes, well, I go to the ABC. I go, oh, okay. I go, who's your rep?
So you know so-and-so.
Right. I go, who's your rep over there? Oh, Johnny. Oh, I know Johnny. Yeah, I just talked to Johnny the other day. Did he ever get any more of those architectural shingles in? I know he was bitching to me the other day.
Yeah.
He was back ordered. Yeah, you know Johnny? What the hell? He's married to my daughter.
Yeah.
And then, boom, like the relationship's there. The rapport is built there. The trust is there. He knows I know what I'm talking about. And, now we're able to talk eye to eye, right?
Right.
We're not talking about this guy that doesn't know what he's doing trying to sell me a custom solution, which is just cookie cutter. Now I'm like, hey, listen, Mike, I know your business. I've already replicated this, 5 other times in other markets. I need to make these small little fine tunes to your strategy to make it custom for you. But I've already fought this battle, won this war.
Right.
Like, if you're trying to accomplish X, I know how to get there.
Right.
So when I would go at it like that, man, it just really allowed me to progress myself to build that rapport. Now, I couldn't do that obviously with attorneys, right?
Sure.
That's not my deal.
Yeah, it's significantly different. Like you can't go calling judges and try to get referrals to lawyers at that point. I mean, that process does not work the same the other way. But
you'd probably go to jail.
But I think to your point though, like you have to be able to trust the process and understand that there are times that your process is going to deviate.
Of course.
And if you don't know how to deviate, then at least know someone who does.
Yeah. I mean, dude,
and that's what's their lead. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Every problem that the common man in marketing, sales, workplace that you're experiencing has been solved by somebody.
Exactly. You just have to do a little bit of history.
It's like The Simpsons did, right? Like, The Simpsons have done everything.
Oh, The Simpsons predicted the future.
Well, they do. Because Matt Groening's from the future. I'm a big Futurama guy. He made Futurama. But no, so like to your point, and to my point as well, like, dude, every problem that you're facing as a common man in America, or I can't say man, excuse me. I mean, when I say common man, I mean person. As a common human in America, right?
Right.
Like, somebody's already fought. Somebody's already...
It's already
been solved, man.
Yes.
Use your resources. Reach out to your peers. Like, what you might have been struggling with 5 years ago and overcome might be the task and the chores that the new rep is struggling with, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, you were a leader in the industry, and so was I. Like, dude, these guys that were bitching about, oh, I can't get past this gatekeeper. It's the same shit I said when I first started.
Right.
Oh, I can't get past this gatekeeper.
Everybody's... It doesn't matter how good your systems are. There are some times where there's a lack of skill, and then there's a lack of knowledge. Because in my opinion, like, the skill is being able to apply the knowledge.
Yeah.
Right? And if you don't have the knowledge, okay, that's what training is for.
Yeah.
Right? Well, now how do you refine that even further? Well, you have to go practice. And sometimes you could count practice as additional training. I'm fine with that analogy. I'm fine with that comparison. But there just comes a certain point where you just have to put the reps in. I don't care what it is. I see people doing it in fitness all the time. Like, what's the new hack so I can do less work? Well, there are methods that involve that, but you're going to have heavier weights. And if your technique's off, well, then you're loading a bad technique with overweighted weight.
Well, you know what I've always had an issue with, though, like, especially in, like, the workout place, too. Like, there's, like, a couple core workouts that, like, have been used for 100 years, and they're proven to work.
Yeah.
Like, dude, like, sometimes, man, to get the juice, man, you just have to squeeze it. Like, to sometimes, dude, like, there's not a shortcut. Sometimes you just have to fucking do the work.
I have a hard time sometimes, even when there's science to justify certain things. When I see the new trends in fitness of, oh, hey, here's how you can do this so much faster than anybody else, and you don't have to do it nearly as often. The question I always come back and ask is, if it was that good, why don't professional athletes do it? Because their job is dependent on that level of fitness. And if you're telling me I can have this superhuman android level capacity or fitness level
in half the time,
then why would the pros in the ultra elite in the fitness space
not pick it up?
Why aren't they doing it?
Right.
And so is it a lack of knowledge? Well, if they have hundreds of millions of dollars, I would anticipate their Google should work better than mine.
Sure. They have more resources.
But if we're at the same Google and they have more people that are also Googling that than what I do, how do they not know about it? Or do they, and it's just something that's in their rearview mirror because it's not worth looking into because it would hinder them.
Yeah,
and so I have questions along those lines, and I'm open to trying new things. I mean, I've seen some amazing work with. There's a whole series of equipment called ARX. I think they have like 2 or 3 big machines, and it's very computer loaded. It's very managed. Like you'll get on there and you'll do like 20-minute workouts, and you'll hit full body everything all the way to failure. And their claim to fame is you only need 1 to 3 workouts a week, so 20 to 60 minutes a week, and that's all you need to stay in shape. I see benefit to that, and I've seen numbers that make a lot of sense there. But that's to stay in shape or get in a level of shape. But what level is that? Is this NFL level? Is this NBA level? Are we talking CrossFit games? Because then there's a certain level of specificity that comes into play of, well, you might be as strong as one of these guys, but can you do what they do as often as they do because they're putting in the reps and you're not? Then that's when I have the discrepancy issues. But I think everything has a time and a place. You just have to be open and honest to it.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. Like, you know, I'll use fishing for example because I like to fish.
Yeah,
obviously, but I like to fish. But no,
right.
So, like, dude, like, do you remember in the early 2000s they had a new rod come out and it was like a rod? It was called a rocket rod. You remember that?
Vaguely.
So you would basically, it's like spring loaded. I can't remember what it is, but it's ridiculous in my opinion.
Right.
You basically have a short pole and you would push like your hook, your bobber and shit. Okay, and then it would shoot your line out for you.
Oh, okay.
You could say, hey, I wanted to go.
I do remember this.
I wanted to go 30 yards. I wanted to go 20 yards. I wanted to go 10 yards, whatever. Right?
Yeah, you kind of dial it in.
Yeah. For some reason, though, like, people could get to that distance, but, like, it just wasn't, like, a good quality pole.
Yeah, like the pole would break on you.
Well, not even that. Like, anytime you fucking put mechanical parts into a very simple mechanism and you overcomplicate it, yeah, you're going to have hiccups, right? So, like, guys would go out there in these competitions and try to use these rocket, I'm just going to call them rocket rods because I think that's what they call it, rocket wheels. Whatever. They tried to use them, And like they'd be cool. Like it's a real cool showman, right? It's like a kit car.
It looks cool.
It's like a kit car, right? Like imagine you do a kit car. You think you have a '65 Shelby Mustang, but in reality, it's like a Toyota Corolla engine in it.
Right.
Right. So like, but you know, so these guys, yeah, right. So like these guys, they're normally actually Buick Regal engines in them, actually. But
that's
for
funny.
the kit car because they're so cheap to get.
That
and they're
makes
everywhere.
sense.
Same chassis. But anyways, so these guys, you know, would do that, and they were like, "Well, what the fuck? We're used to catching these 5-pound bass. Why are we catching them?"
Right.
Dude, for some reason, like the fish just weren't really. I don't know. I don't know the science behind it or why. But, like there was a big reason. Like the difference is if you went out there with a rocket reel versus your old spin caster or your fucking button master or your bait caster, whatever you got, man. Anything, open face reel, anything, and I use them all. Like the guys, the pros, were catching bigger and better fish more consistently with the old tried and true. So my whole point, sometimes, dude, what has been working for 100 years? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
There is something to be said about it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I going back to jiu-jitsu too, it's like there's only so many moves.
Yeah.
You know, everyone says jiu-jitsu is infinite. I'm like, yeah, I would imagine it's going to seem near infinite with the number of combinations you can make.
But isn't it infinite because they just keep incorporating like different styles to it? But the idea, the fundamentals are the same.
Well, I agree.
Like you can shoot a jump shot.
Yes.
Like people's release on the jump shot is always different, right? Larry Bird's is here, Magic's is here. Sean Marion, who's playing the Magic, shoots from his chest like here.
But the mechanic of
the jump shot
is shoot in a certain elevation.
It's still a jump shot.
Aim here, the trajectory, all of that still has to get. So how you get the ball into that trajectory doesn't really matter as long as it gets in there and then in there.
Into the basket, exactly.
In jiu-jitsu, like a choke is a choke, an armbar is an armbar.
Right.
There's only so many ways to get to it, and then if you take it a step further, there's only so many ways to get to it from this position or that position, and it's like, oh, but what about over here? Well, you might like the idea of it getting there, but sequentially it doesn't make sense. Or you're out of position, or something crazy has to happen to create that opportunity.
Yeah.
And so I'm very curious on the fishing thing. I have to look into that and figure out, like, well, why did that not work?
I don't know, man.
That's so crazy, though.
I'll tell you, man.
Because I'm thinking, like, if what's on the hook would lure them in.
Most of the time, yeah. But there's a lot of dynamics to it, dude. It's the way that your line sits in the water. Dude, there's so many yeah, dude. So like I've been fishing my whole life, but I didn't really get into it until I met my father-in-law.
Yeah.
And my father-in-law is 62, 63, somewhere around there. He's been fishing forever.
Okay.
I mean, he's been serious about it forever. So like he has taught me 95% of what I know. And I caught some excellent fish because of him. And the 5% that I had to learn from him, I've just learned like trial and error or like just, you know, reading or watching videos and such. And, you know, it's so weird, dude. Like, I caught a nice bass this year for the first time ever on top water. Do you know what that is?
On top water?
Top water.
No.
So you get, normally it's like a frog or like an insect or a spider. You see spiders, sometimes even mice. Like you have these little plastic, soft plastics, what they're called. Okay. And it looks just like a frog or a mouse. And you throw it, you normally only throw it in like real low water.
It just kind of floats on the top.
It floats on the top. You throw it in low water, like in this case, we call it the cesspool. His family owns some property in Illinois. We fish there, and it's an amazing time. But so when we go over there, you know, this pool called the cesspool. It's really weird, man, how the cesspool is because like there's like 5-pound bass in there, and maybe the water's 2 feet deep. Like, dude, these bass have no business being in there, and we've caught them. Like these bass had no, and like it's a nasty, kind of just overgrown, snakes everywhere.
At that point.
Well, on top of it is all this like algae and muck.
Sure.
Right? So like
so they hide under that.
Right. So, you can never throw a swim bait. You can never throw a crankbait. You can never throw anything exposing the hook. You could do like a wacky rig or something that hides the hook, like a weedless.
Right.
But the real money for those is the top waters because they think it's a frog hopping across the water. They can't tell the difference. So, you know, my whole point is, dude, fish are so fucking weird sometimes, man. Yeah. And he also taught me something. I didn't know, like, the atmospheric pressure affects fish if they bite or not. Did you know that? I
have heard this, but again, that falls into the realm of specificity that I just never really had to screw with.
Yeah.
Like, if I did it more often or if I did it more, I don't even want to say competitively, but if I treated fishing as another means of like food for the family.
Oh, be a different story. Yeah. You
would
head down to a something.
And that's where, I don't know if professional hunter is the right term, but like, you know, necessary hunter. Like when you're actually looking to like, hey, every deer season, like I need to add this much deer to the freezer.
Sure.
So that way,
Kind of what I do.
Yeah, exactly. We're saving on groceries here. We're putting that in for future.
Well, I use hunting as an
I don't do that with fish, so I don't really like. I think if I were to go deeper into it, what I'm getting at is yes, I would pay attention to shit like that.
Well, so you hunt, right? And I hunt as well. So I'll tell you, I never realized for the longest time how much the moon plays a factor. The night before, and the more you go out. I don't know what time you get out there, but we walk out to our stand at 4:30.
Yeah, we go out like right before sunrise. I mean, we're out there about an hour before.
Okay, so about 4:35 o'clock.
Yeah,
because sunrise typically in deer season in Missouri it's like 6:25.
Yeah, it's about 5.
So we'll get out there at 6:30.
I think we're in the stand about 5.
Or excuse me, we'll get out there about 4:30 and we'll sit there. And like if the moon is like shining bright, the deer won't move for some reason.
Is it too exposing? I guess like maybe.
Oh wait, hold on.
Or do you have it backwards?
I think I have it backwards.
Okay.
I can't remember. My buddy actually, my best man Nick taught me that.
Okay.
His dad is also his dad is a fucking great guy too, and he's a killer.
Nick, please comment on which one it is.
Nick and Mike, please tell us which one it is. I might have it backwards, but I always hunt with them, so it doesn't matter. They're not going to lead in their own direction.
Right.
Nick's dad has killed hundreds of deer. He's a fucking animal.
Yeah, my buddy Jake is the one I go hunting with, and then I need to go with my buddy JW. But
your trainer?
Yeah. Jake basically says, well, we're going to go out and we're just going to do this today. Okay, cool. And so then I know that wherever we go to sit, at some point we're going to be real still for a while.
Yep.
And I just basically get the rifle ready, and I'm just kind of looking around for any kind of movement.
So, yeah, but go back. So, like, dude, things in life are just so weird and finicky. Like, the moon plays a factor. The wind plays a factor. I do not buy into the bullshit that people say that deer can smell you. I know they can. Like my buddy's dad, he killed the biggest deer he ever killed in his life. He was smoking a cigarette in a tree stand. Like, dude, I don't, because like there's been many times where like I would eat a snack in the tree stand, and then a deer walks right underneath, doesn't even notice. Right. But then there's other times like I am completely quiet. I have scent blocker on me. I'm covered in scent blocker. I didn't wash my clothes in normal detergent. I washed it in the scentless detergent, and I'll hear a doe blowing at me because she smells me. Right. And there's no fucking consistency. It makes no sense.
And honestly, it literally might just be situation to situation. Like when your guy was smoking the cigarette there, it might have been maybe the deer did catch up the scent, but was just curious about it.
That's true.
And so came investigating, right? And then, the other one where the doe might not have necessarily smelled you, but she saw you. Or she registered.
She didn't see me for sure.
Or what do you mean since she was blowing it and was just like snorting towards you?
Yeah, so when deer... I love deer.
I didn't know if it was like a territorial thing.
It is. No, deers are very fantastic animals, and they're very fascinating. So, like, whenever deers get kind of like, they see something that shouldn't be there, right? You see, actually, bucks will blow at other bucks all the time.
That's what I was thinking of. Okay.
Yeah, they'll blow at other bucks and saying, like, basically, hey, like, get the fuck away from me. Kind of, back up. Right, this is my turf, right? Especially during the rut when they're looking for does, right? They're like, hey, dude, like, this is my area to find.
Every buck is a teenage boy on spring break.
100%, right? 100%, yeah. So like this doe actually happened this year. This doe, I shot her home, or her friend. I hate to say that because hunting for me is very sacred, and I honor the deer. Sure. 2 does walking by, and I shot the bigger one. Yeah. And the other doe took off, and then like I have a golden rule that my buddy Nick taught me. He's like, dude, whenever you shoot a deer, you do not go down immediately. You wait 30 minutes to an hour because 2 things will happen. 1, you want the deer to pass. You don't want to, for a safety reason, you don't want the deer to get up and, freak out and attack you or whatever. Right. 2, a buck might come by. You shoot a doe, bucks are so curious about doe. They'll smell the blood and they'll smell the urine. Because anytime you shoot a deer, it poops on itself. Yeah. Pees on itself, right? The buck will smell that. So if you shoot a buck or shoot a doe, a buck might come by. So wait. Interesting. Yeah, my buddy has told me, like, dude, he's like, I killed a doe right there, and then 10 minutes later, a buck walks up, and I got him. Like, yeah, and used both his tags, and, so, like, it happened. So, I was sitting in the tree stand.
I had not heard that.
Yeah, I was sitting in the tree stand after I dropped her, and I was also very lucky this year, man. Both my deer dropped immediately. I didn't have to chase. Nice. Last year, I had to chase the buck, and it was like...
I think so far I've been blessed. I haven't had to really do a lot of chasing.
I love tracking, though.
Yeah.
I love tracking. It's such the coolest experience, man. It's like,
it's going to add to the adrenaline.
Well, you're on a race against time, right? Because it's getting dark, typically.
Oh, that's true,
right?
Yeah.
And, or if you're hunting in the morning, it's different. But if you're hunting in the evening, like I killed the buck in the evening, I killed the doe in the morning. But anyways, you're on a race against time in the evening, and you're looking for tracks, you're looking for blood splatters, and you're looking for patterns. And then you go, okay, great, I found the first blood trail. Like, now it's like a game of fucking Clue of, like, where to go. And you just feel, it just makes me feel really instinctual, like, primal. Yeah. And going back to my roots, because, like, I'm looking, and my buck I killed last year, he ran like 40, 50 yards far away, like in this little gully.
Right.
And I remember when I was looking for him, and it was just really, really hard. I was like, fuck, man, I got maybe 30 minutes of daylight left. I'm like, this is bad.
Mm-hmm.
Looking for him, and I started like getting upset because I'm like, man, I must have missed him. And then I stepped into a pile of blood. Like, I hit him in the heart.
Yeah.
Like a perfect shot. 67 yards, I did a rangefinder. 67 yards, smoked him in the heart.
Man.
And I stepped in a pile of his, like, very bright blood. So I was like, oh. I was like, I hit a vital. Like,
yeah.
I'm like, got very lucky, had a great shot. Stepped in the blood, and I'm like, okay.
He's close.
He's close.
Yeah.
Like, this is a good sign. I'm like, nobody's getting shot, losing this much blood running that far.
Right.
Yeah, like 30, 40, maybe even 50 yards later, after tracking him, you know, basically I found blood on this leaf, found blood on this here, saw a footprint, found blood on this tree, and underneath this like little ravine, he was laying there. And maybe I just started crying. I was so thankful and so happy. I just had tears coming down my eyes. It's just the most magical experience ever. And like I said, I honored the deer. Every part of the deer that I kill gets used. Every single part.
Good.
It doesn't matter how big the buck is. I will always get a Euro mounted, at least. If it's a monster, I'll get it shoulder mounted every single time.
Oh, nice.
Because that deer gave his life for me.
Yeah, that's fair.
And, you know, I'm eating it, you know, which is great.
Yes.
But, like, I want to be able to go back. Like, there's one right there hanging up. There's
oh,
one
yeah,
in my
shove it
office.
there.
Yeah, like, I want to be able to remember my experience with that deer. Like, that deer didn't die in vain. He died for a good reason. My food source. Yep. And, like, I'm going to honor him, but he's always going to have a place in my house. I hope that makes sense. Probably sounds a little weird.
No. I think I've noticed that everybody always does like their own rituals about it too. Like my buddy, like when you get your first one, he likes to do the whole thing where like he puts his like gets his finger in the bullet hole and then puts blood on you. And
mine's
like,
worse.
He gets way into it. Like
I took a bite of the heart.
I've heard of people taking a bite of the heart. Yeah, and I mean, look, at the end of the day, I'm like, I don't necessarily think one is better or worse than the other. It's like as long as you have your thing. That's your thing.
I have always been told growing up by everybody, like all my ancestors and people that have hunted and such, like you get your first kill, doe or buck, you take a bite of the heart. It was fucking disgusting.
I was gonna say I have very respectful views of man. I am glad that is your thing, but I was not taking a bite of the dead heart.
I mean,
that was not happening for me.
It was very gross.
Yes,
but I'm glad I did.
Yeah. Well, and again, like whenever, especially for your first time, like it's in a weird parallel here. When my wife and I were having our son, when she was pregnant with him, she made a very set choice of I'm going to have natural childbirth. I'm going to do this the way my mother did it. This is the way I want to do it. This is how it's going to happen. So our entire birthing plan was around get Jen through the delivery as safely as possible with no epidural. When Lily was born, that was still on the game plan, or that was still on the plan, but the labor was completely different. So the situation changed versus what it was the first time. And back labor was so bad, she was like, I broke. She's like, I tapped. And I'm like, cool, then this is the new plan.
Yeah.
And you no longer have to do that other one. She's like, what am I feeling? Nope, you are not failing because we are going to have a healthy delivery.
Yeah.
And then
she did everything she could.
Yes. You were going to be 2 for 2 on healthy, happy babies delivered at this hospital.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Strucks you down. She's like, oh my God, this is way better.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, cool.
I'll say this
you did the thing, and there you go.
I'll say this for the record now. Celeste and I, we're recently married. We're trying hard to have a family, so we're planning. And like I told myself 1,000 times, and now it's going to be recorded for everybody to call me out forever. So I'm going to stay true to it. When my wife is pregnant, dude, there's like she's not going to do anything. Everything that she needs is going to be catered head and foot because like. The last thing I want is a complication.
Yes.
Right? I don't want Celeste trying to carry in groceries and fall and fucking something happens. Or like, and I want the whole process. I have such respect for women who carry child, man, because like, it's the most, like, other than like losing a limb, it's like on the pain scale. It's like the highest thing you can do. Like, you're literally harboring, that's kind of a funny word to use. You're harboring another life form inside you for 9 months or so. Okay. Everything you put into it is vital.
Yep.
Right? And then what happens? They leave your body and like you give it life. Like that's such an incredible, majestic and just sacred experience. Like, dude, the moms, like people that are pregnant, women that are pregnant, I can't say people, excuse me, women that are pregnant, like they need to be treated and carried on hand and foot, dude, because like that's a big fucking thing.
Yeah, and
like you wouldn't ask somebody with cancer on chemo to fucking carry in groceries.
No.
Like it should be the same deal, man.
No. Well, and that's why going to the fitness world for a little bit here, like one of the athletes I used to follow a lot in the CrossFit world was Tia Claire Toomey. I think.
Don't tell me she trained when she was pregnant.
She did.
Wow.
Yes.
That's so impressive.
Yes. And
I know a lot of women do.
Big old belly too. And
well, that came from Sparta.
Well, and I also look at it this way, like if you're used to a certain level of physical activity, like you don't have to stop.
Yeah.
Like, you can still do that thing, and if anything, it's just going to make everything easier.
Well, it's different.
Because you're stronger, you're going to bounce back better.
Sure.
You know, there's so many good things.
We're not losing as much progress.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. Like if Celeste was like, hey, I'm pregnant, I want to go to the gym and get a walk in or get a light lift in, I'd be like, hey, I'm all for that.
Yeah,
be careful.
Yeah, don't do anything outside anymore. But if it's part of the routine, you've already established it.
But I think like the mundane shit, like, I don't think the wife should be, doing chores as often, right? Because like it's hard enough having a fucking person inside you, right? Like
Celeste, remember this.
I'm serious. Like, she can pull this video up and whenever we get pregnant. Like, I will make sure. We're so serious.
She's like, man, can you get that coffee mug? She's like, no, you said on the podcast. You're like, son of a bitch.
But we're so serious about
having a month 9, the day before, he's going, that fucking podcast with me, man.
No, I'm a man of my word, man. I have integrity in this.
I'm not saying you won't do it, but it's what you're doing.
I might bitch about it. Like, if I ask Celeste, like, if we have a big, L-shaped couch, or a big,
we got a little L-shape here too, yeah.
But it's big, you know what I mean? It's big chairs, big reclines, all this bullshit. If she's on one side of the couch, I'm on the other, I'm like, hey babe, can you throw the remote? She goes, no, you still have the podcast and I'm doing it. Then I'd probably be like, oh my god.
You're gonna eat that one.
Just have the baby already. Fuck.
The secret that my wife has used for when it comes time for delivery is right in that last, like, I'm done phase where it's like, okay, you're in the 3rd trimester.
Yeah, you're just ready to go.
Yeah, you're ready to go. Her first thing is like, look, just go get a pedicure. Because one, they have all that talk about like when they massage the feet, how that has different like points in the body that trigger labor. And then 2, she's like, here's the thing, I'm going to be in labor. I might as well have cute toes. Like everything else is going to be kind of disgusting and nasty for a little bit.
Were you in there when she gave birth?
Yes. Boom.
Dude, I thought like I was nervous about like my wedding day, like standing up at the altar. Like obviously, I knew I made the right decision. I had no second thoughts about marriage, but it's just a very crucial part of your life, and you get nervous, right? I think that's not going to be anything in comparison to.
Oh, the delivery room is way different.
Oh,
it's way different.
I've like seen videos like dads pass out.
Modesty. Oh yeah, like especially with like the. I don't know if I've ever said this. So I cut the cord for both kids. I think I did. I know for sure I did with Jack.
Did you eat the cord like I ate the heart?
No, that's fucking weird. I can't do that one. Like, because here's the thing. There's a part of me that like I've heard people do that stuff, and I was like, okay, good for you. That's a little cannibalistic to me because
I've never heard of the cord.
That's a person.
I've heard of the mother eat the placenta.
That's fucking weird to me.
I think it's weird too.
I've heard of people planting trees with the placenta, and that was about as hippie as I think I could get down. And like, or we could just discard, right? Like,
probably not.
I'm fine with that one. Like, that's where I will say, look, I'm all for a lot of holistic practices. I like things to be as natural as possible. That said, if a situation arises, like, for example, like I will try to do, if I get like a rash in my arm, I'll probably try to do some holistic treatment or something more herbal in nature to alleviate the symptoms, alleviate the rash. If it gets to a point where it's like, oh wait, you have staph, then I'm getting the antibiotics. Like I'm not going to screw with it, right? But that stuff is where I'm like, okay, that officially is where I have a line, and I didn't know that. But as far as cutting the cord, it was a little tricky because it's like it's oddly rubbery and it doesn't quite hit the scissors right. But when you'll feel it going, like, yeah, and it cuts through. Yeah, I almost passed out at that point, but it was we can do this. And I think even then, like I hadn't really gotten into the world of breath work, but I remember both times doing the fuck. Cut. And it's never cut, it's there we go. Like it's you think it's fast and it's not. And it's only like a second, but that second takes like a year. It's way different than hunting.
Come up reach home in the hospital. I have a funny story.
Okay.
So I went to Mexico last year, and it's crazy enough. Like anytime we were about to fly, I've only like flown twice. So
okay, yeah, you were saying that the other day.
Yeah. So like I guess I've been on an airplane 4 times, there and back, right?
Yeah.
It's like anytime we're about to fly, like one of my wisdom teeth come in. So like we're going to fucking Mexico last year for vacation. And
you got them all in now?
No, I still have 2.
You still have 2?
Yeah.
Oh, so you got 2 more plane rides.
Oh yeah. Actually, we're going to San Francisco in February, in March, so I can't wait to fucking have.
So is it just the there, or is it like both trips is when you get a wisdom tooth?
It's just there. So
okay.
for example, right, the trip to Mexico,
That's so funny.
Like 2 days before our trip, I started having like the worst tooth pain. And I'm like,
shit.
oh my god, like this is nothing's worse than tooth pain. I'd rather lose my foot than have tooth pain, to be honest with you, man. Like it's so bad. So I make an emergency appointment. I'm paying a fortune because it's emergency, and I get this wisdom tooth pulled out. Literally less than 18 hours for our flight. Like I'm getting my wisdom tooth pulled out at like 6 p.m. Our flight's at 5 a.m. Okay. So like I guess it's like 13 hours right before the flight. And I was like, you know what? Like, this fucking tooth has caused me a lot of problems. I asked the dentist, like, what do you do with the tooth? He's like, I'm just throw it away. I'm like, give it to me. I'm like, I'm going to keep it.
Okay.
He's like, what the fuck is wrong with this kid? So, like, whatever. So I smuggled this. I love telling the story because it's hilarious. You know, like when you walk through the X-ray for TSA and all that shit?
Yeah. Oh.
Dude, I had my tooth and Celeste is looking at me like, you gross fuck, because she was there the whole time.
I have this image of them seeing the X-ray.
It was so funny. And wisdom teeth, dude, are like double the size of your teeth. So like my wisdom tooth was like this fucking big, right? I had this little plastic bag in my pocket, and I know I walked through TSA checkpoint, and somebody scanned me with the X-ray and was like, that motherfucker's got a tooth in his pocket. Like, what the fuck is wrong with it? No drugs, no guns, no explosives.
Why does he have teeth?
He's got a fucking tooth in his pocket.
What's up with this?
So as soon as we got to Mexico, I ran into the ocean and fucking threw the tooth in the ocean.
Okay.
We go to Disney for our honeymoon. Literally, it was how many days, babe? We went and had that wisdom tooth pulled out. Like 2 days before our wedding.
Okay.
I had another wisdom tooth pulled out.
No kidding.
Yeah. So we got married on a Saturday. We're flying out on a Monday.
Oh
wait, no, it wasn't a honeymoon.
Anyway.
Did I throw that tooth in Disney or did I throw it at the lake? Anyways, I can't remember where I went. But anyways, I had another wisdom tooth pulled out.
Yeah.
And fucking asked him to keep it, and I threw it in another body of water. And I told
we're throwing teeth in bodies of water.
So let's go, well, what do you think happened to that tooth? I go, well, I'll tell you what happened to that tooth. Like, some fucking fish ate that tooth.
Or it's sitting on the bottom of an ocean or a lake right now.
I don't know, man. Yeah. But there's fucking Nate's teeth somewhere in this world. So stupid, man.
He will return back to the ocean. Well, and here's another thing, too. I've learned, whether it's fish stories or teeth stories, you know, when you get something that's really good, after a while, like if you have like kind of the, like, especially with grandkids down the road, like the legend of when Grandpa Nate threw his teeth in the lake, you know, whatever that is, like if the legend becomes bigger than the truth, like tell the legend.
Oh yeah,
because why not, right? I mean, that was something I learned from growing up as a pro wrestling geek. Like, you know, whenever the story is bigger than the actual truth, like, just stick with the story.
Yeah, I'll have to tell my grandkids. Yeah, I threw a lake or I threw my tooth in the ocean, and a shark came up and got it.
Oh yeah, it's like, and I mean, the story can always add to it. I mean, that's
well, they're going to paraphrase it. And they're going to change the story.
Yeah, and then they get their big fish version of it, and so it's. Yeah. I mean, how many times it's like I probably caught like a 6-inch bass, and it's like, oh yeah, it was like 6.5 inches, and like that little half inch just starts moving the needle.
Yeah, now it's a 5-pounder.
Yeah, it's like, man, this thing was like 15 pounds. It pulled me out into the middle of the lake. I had no oars, and I had to just wrestle the thing. And
I do know a guy that caught a 9-pound bass, though.
I've heard some crazy stories of like surprisingly not big fish. Like, if you're really anchored in and it's getting a good pull, it can move the boat. You don't need a lot of weight to move a boat.
I caught a 16-pound catfish and it was pulling the boat.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
100%
it doesn't need a lot of... I mean, when you really pull, what's the poundage on that, right?
Not much.
So if you're not doing much, if you only need like 1 or 2 pounds of movement, you got a 16-pounder, yeah, you can probably pull the boat a little bit.
You got to think, too, man. Fish are like all muscle.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, yeah, you ever seen like a snake, for example?
Same thing, all muscle.
Yeah, it's all muscle. So like, dude, a 4.5-foot snake, you know, is more strong than a 4.5-foot human.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean,
maybe to some degree, but you know what I mean.
Like, right. If they get a grip on it,
pound for pound,
they're definitely going to mess with you for sure.
Which is fucking. Here we did. We got on another tangent. I'm sorry, guys.
No, it's fine.
I want to get back to this though. I wanted to cover 2 more things real quick. And,
yeah.
You know, we can do whatever. But so I have a lot of people that I know that want to get in the sales world, and they've asked me many times, like, Nate, what do I even do? I know sales is where I want to go. I want to be ambitious in it.
Please don't tell me you do the sell me this pen shit.
No. Okay. I've done it one time, and I did exactly what Homeboy in the movie did.
Yeah.
I said, hey, sell me this pen.
Are you in the market for the pen?
Well, you know, Brad and Alex did that to me.
Yeah.
When I first got hired at Video.
They did?
I said, sell me this pen. And I just did what the movie did. I said, hey, give me your pen. And they said, okay. And
supply and demand.
I said, supply and demand. And they go, what a smart. I guess I haven't seen the movie, but they were like, what a
How do you use that example if you ever seen the movie or at least read the book? Like,
I've seen it.
I mean,
maybe.
Okay.
But they probably heard it from like a fucking YouTube video or something goofy.
They probably saw the clip.
Right,
didn't see the whole concept. That would make sense.
And I was like, okay, give me the pen. And hey, do me a favor, write your name down. If I don't have a pen, it's fine to me. Boom. And they loved it. They fucking loved it.
Yeah.
And I got hired there. But you know, like, so, yeah, I just, for all the people out there, all my younger people that watch and that are trying to get into sales, I think, in my opinion, I've been in sales my whole career. I think it's the best industry to be in, but it really is feast or famine. And the name of the game in sales is consistency. You never want to have and that's kind of contradicting what I just said, but you have to be consistent, right? So it might be feast or famine some months, but if you know, hey, no matter what, I have a formula that's going to bring home X, you can plan your life around that. So were there some months where I brought home $30,000 in commission? Fucking right there was. Mm-hmm. Was there some months where I brought home $5,000 in commission? $2,000 in commission? Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. You know, plus our base where we did well either way. Right. But having the consistent formula to, if you do have a feast month, and then the next month is a famine month, if you have the consistent formula, you're able to bounce back and get right into the groove of things without having to struggle. Yeah. And it's, do you have any, so I mean, you're, like I said, you were down in the sales world with me as well. We were right there neck and neck, kicking ass. Mm-hmm. Like, what do you have as far as advice for people that want to get started? Let's start there. Let's start. If somebody wants to get started, what is some advice that you'd give them to get started?
So if they've never done anything in the world of sales and they're looking to get into it, is the context of this, I would definitely say if you've never done anything in the world of sales and you're looking to get started, the very first thing to do is start learning how to just get to know people.
For sure.
I remember going over this a couple times. I think you echoed similar sentiments to this. I know some of the other people we mentioned did, but one guy we haven't really talked about a lot, you know, my direct manager and really one of my bigger mentors at that organization was a guy named Jacob.
The best.
Jacob was really good about getting to know the person and then building the rapport from there. And so, like, even though everybody was a potential prospect, not everybody was a potential client. And sometimes he could tell really quick. He just got to the point where he was so good at meeting people and so good at asking questions. He could tell, are you going to be a better referral partner or are you going to be a client? So one, just get used to like getting to know people and getting to ask them. And then two, get used to losing.
Yeah,
because you're going to lose way more times than you ever win, and so just keeping track of like what are your wins. Did you make enough dials for the day? Okay, well once you make enough dials, now you can focus on making enough quality dials.
Right.
Quality dials leads to quality appointments. Quality appointments leads to better follow-ups or better opportunities to close. Better opportunities to close lead to bigger and better deals. And so like you just have to put in the time, put in the reps. And I think being able to track your progress and saying, you know, just to really, if I'm kind of building a list of things to like really get started with, one, be accepting of the fact you're going to lose more than you win.
100%.
My buddy Dave Whitley, I don't know if I mentioned him earlier or not, but yeah, he's the guy that got me into Wim Hof. He's a professional strongman, and so he'll rip phone books and bend horseshoes into hearts or paper clips, and he will tell you. Or one of the things he told me early on in getting into personal training was, you know, when you're out there prospecting, I bet 100. The line that sticks to me to this day in my head, I heard this in 2014, and I still say this to people, is I bet 100 people won't say no to you in a row. So now the fun thing is you've got a fun little challenge within a challenge too, because one, you have to get 100 people to talk to you. Okay. Two, you got to get 100 people to talk to you long enough for you to ask for the thing, and the thing could be the close, which I think is a little premature if you're just like cold calling, but maybe the thing is, hey, will you give me the chance to present X amount of information to you? And if you get 100 people to say, or I'm sorry, if you get 100 people to that point, I bet you 100 people will not say no in a row. Well, then you take a step further. Okay, now I have 100 appointments. I don't expect you to close 100 appointments, but I will tell you out of 100 held appointments, one of those people are going to say next to the next thing that you're going to ask, which is, you know, either it's the close and we found a solution along the way, or hey, maybe you learned something in that discovery, now you have to have another meeting, and then that's when you're going to make the pitch. Yeah. So like there's always levels to the game, and the first thing to do is just get so good at, I guess, filling those buckets and getting those levels checked and met, that if you can just get good at that, then you're probably going to be fairly okay in what you're doing. But just to start out, like, one, don't be afraid to like get involved and try something uncomfortable. If you're cold calling, remember 100% of the people that hang up on you are probably not going to think of you after they hang up on you.
Oh,
so don't take it personal.
Yeah.
I remember, this is one of my favorite things Jacob ever did with us was we would do, we always would have like dial-a-thons. And for anybody watching that doesn't know what we're talking about is exactly what it sounds like. We have a bunch of people, we elect an amount of time and say, we're going to dial our ass off and just call. And you're trying to set as many appointments, and maybe if you really get a good groove on it, you just go right into the pitch there and you're hoping to close them, hey, one call close, right? That'd be the ideal. So you have to be open and willing to have that. But one thing that we did that was really good is we would have these dial sessions where we would all pull up our cameras, we would mute the phones, and we would just get into a dial. And if we started getting a good conversation, we would unmute and we would share the phone call. And sometimes that would end up leading in a, hey, this was a good meeting, I'll talk to you then. Or every once in a blue moon, you get the, hey, man, thank you for calling me and wasting my effing time. Don't you ever call me again, you piece of... And then they'd hang up on you. And we would be like, ah! And we would celebrate the heck out of getting cussed out because you hit this milestone of, well, your calls can't get any worse now. That's about as bad as a call can go. Sweet, we ripped that Band-Aid off. Now let's keep going. So having fun with those losses, like I think those are, I know I was trying to circle back and actually get like an itemized list of things to check off for how to get started. But if you accept that you're going to lose more than you win, the wins are awesome though, right? The wins get you paid. So out of 100 people, if you get one win, that could be a really good day.
No, for sure.
And two, just like you said, you have to be willing to be consistent with it. If you could get 100 dials in, you can get 100 conversations in. You can get 100 conversations in, eventually you can get 100 meetings in. 100 meetings in, you should be able to close 100 closes. And they don't always go one for one. It might be for everything that you just won in those examples, for every level you moved up, you might have had to do 100 to get to that 100. So,
well, think about this,
100 to get to
let's
one,
say,
right?
Let's say we're lifting weights. Let's say we're bench pressing, right?
Yeah.
How many times did you have to bench 135 to get to 225?
Exactly.
How many times? Probably thousands.
It's going to take you a while.
It took me thousands.
Yeah.
Literally thousands of hitting 135. And then, you creep up a little bit. Now you're doing 155, creeping up a little bit. You're doing that for 700 times.
Right.
And you're doing 185 for 100 fucking times, 200 times, 300 times, 400 times. Then you hit 205, which is a huge milestone.
I think that's a really good analogy, using the weights as a progression, because it doesn't matter what your rep scheme or your programming of when you're going to add weight, take it away, whatever that is, you still have to get the reps in. One thing I remember in the kettlebell world, there's this adage, and I've heard it quoted by many people, but the adage is like when they talk about like taking a kettlebell and pressing it overhead. Oh yeah. Right? If you want to press a lot, you have to press a lot. And so I was like, well, wait, I want to press a lot of weight. Okay, well, you're going to need a lot of reps. And you might have to get a lot of reps at lighter weights and then move up to heavier weights and then move up to heavier weights to get the heavier weight you want. You're still going to have to put in the reps.
But what's the common denominator there, right?
Consistency.
Right?
Exactly.
So that's my point.
The other thing.
It doesn't matter. Like if I go to the gym and I bench 135 100 times that one day and then I just don't go back for a year, when I come back in a year from now, am I going to be able to bench 225? Probably not. Probably not. But it's the going in there and doing it maybe 20 times a day for 3 days a week or 2 days a week for 8 months, right? Gets me there. Right? Yeah. And then they start
snap back in, but you got to get back. You got to put the reps in.
Right. But it's putting the reps in, but putting the reps in consistently. Like, yes. It doesn't like if I just I don't know, man. Like I guess if I just when I had this wall painted, if he just came through and just painted the same fucking spot every day, painted the same spot, and I'm like, hey man, when do you think
you're gonna have like a sheet of paint that's this thick compared to like that,
the wall being done, right?
Yeah, you're gonna have a whole new wall in that one area of just latex paint on the wall.
So the consistency is like going to each side of it, right? Consistency painting the whole wall, rather than man, that's probably bad now, or whatever. I don't care.
But no, I think there's merit to it. I mean, if you again go back to how would you build somebody up from the ground up? Well, one, tell them you're going to have to put the reps in. You're going to have to be consistent. Right. Two, you're going to have to get used to taking more losses than you are victories. But I think if you're taking something away where you're able to say, yeah, I probably could have said these things to that guy. The next guy, I'm going to try something different. Like to your example of like, hey, I never would have thought to actually go out and figure out like who's the owning Corning's rep or whatever the company is.
And get good with him.
Yeah, I never would have thought of that until somebody would have come along and said that. So then when you go and put reps in with there, now it starts to pay dividends later. So always be open to new ideas, and if you're going to try it, battle test it. Don't just say, hey, I'm going to try this one thing one time. We were talking about a gentleman that would do that shit all the time. And, go figure. He was a rep that was struggling.
Won't name names. But.
Yeah, he was a rep that was struggling. He was having a hard time making good deals. He would get these pie-in-the-sky offers that sounded amazing, but then when he would bring someone on to talk to the guys, you would realize that that's not at all what the guy said. he was so fixed on this is how I want the win to be. He wasn't looking at the loss that was in front of him that was way established as a loss long ago. But then they've been stringing him along because they're just too polite to tell him no.
Right.
Well, you need to be okay being direct once in a while. Like, there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, Nate, this is our 4th meeting. You know,
it's probably not a good fit.
Obviously, like, you've got some questions on there. I feel like we've gone over those a few times, but one thing I just want to ask you is, listen, it's okay if it's a no, but is this something that you're actually interested in? Because I want to be respectful of your time for
you know, dude, some people just take a meeting. Like, you know, some people are so polite that they just don't want to, like, hurt this guy's feeling, and they have no intention of buying.
He seems like a nice guy. Like, yeah, but you know what? Seems like a nice guy doesn't mean this makes sense for my business.
Yeah, dude, but, like, for me, I'm allergic to shellfish, right? So, like, a shellfish salesman could be the nicest guy in the world.
But you're not going to buy
I would never buy from him because it would fucking kill me.
I'm sure he has the best Alaskan king crab in the world, but it will murder me if I have it.
Exactly. So no matter what happens, no matter what he says, no matter if he said, Nate, we're going to give you 6 months of shellfish for free.
Nice.
I still wouldn't be.
You're going to die 6 months earlier.
Right.
So,
I still wouldn't be.
So this is not a good fit for me.
Yeah, and I think that's what separates you and I between a lot of people like we in the industry, right? Because like I can smell in the water when the deal's not right. And if the deal is not mutually beneficial or right for all parties, I will be the first to say that. I'm like, hey, Mike, listen, man, like you told me you really don't have the budget for this. Like the business is kind of struggling. You had to let an employee go. I don't want it to come down to the part where you're like, hey, we're doing this strategy that might work.
Right.
Or like, you know, you missing your daughter's birthday. Right. I don't want it to come down to that.
So I did the exact same. And that's why I think I was able to gravitate into sales as effectively as I did, because coming from a background where I spent so many years as a personal trainer and that was my only income, I had to live by sales. Now, ironically, I never looked at it like that. I looked at it like, well, yeah, I mean, I have to get clients, I have to close deals for sure. But I never approached it from a sales side. I always looked at what I was doing as an educational service. I'm teaching you how to eat better. I'm teaching you.
Well, that's what I would always do. The people that told me, you know, the people that were in that situation were like, you know, hey, Nate, you're right. Like, I can't, this doesn't make sense for me. I said, okay, well, how about this, Mike? How about this? I go, there's a lot of things that I can teach you in an hour that you can do that will generate revenue. I said, I'll teach you these things now, and in return, just do me a favor. Whenever you're ready and the money's coming in more consistently,
make me your first call.
I'm just an option.
Exactly.
Like, you'll just hear me out then.
Just give me a call when you're ready to revisit this.
And I can't tell you how many times that's worked out for me where, you know, 8 months later, I was at the job almost 4 years. 8 months later, Billy Bob's Roofing calls me back and says, Nate, what you gave us before really worked. Us doing some Facebook sponsored ads really kicked ass. We had a great summer. We're going into the winter, but we want to gear up for next year. We have 10 grand next month that we need to spend for marketing. What are your thoughts?
And the nice thing is that so recently I've seen someone do this very successfully in the business world as well. Alex Hormozy does that all the time. His whole website is literally both a funnel and a pre-qualifier for clients he will actually work with, and he will tell you in all his videos, I'm putting almost as much of, I don't know if he has all this stuff, but he's got a good amount of stuff out there for free. And if it's not for free, it's like exactly the lowest amount that the vendor of choice tells us. So if he has a book on Amazon, they say, hey, you got to sell this for $29.99. Or he'll put the free PDF on his website, and he'll tell you, if you're a business that makes $3 to $10 million a year, you might be somebody that we would like to partner with. Here's how you would do that if you want to grow and scale. This is what we do. If you don't, then please use the stuff on my website to get to that point.
What's the idea of the free sample, right? How many times have you been to a store and it's a free sample? We're like, I'll never ever forget. I don't drink caffeine. But when I did drink caffeine, this company called Jones Soda Co. You remember them?
Yeah, I've heard of Jones.
Dude, so like this fucking nice lady at the rep, right? She was just a rep there. She's like, hey, sir. I was probably at 14, whatever. I still drink caffeine at the time. Not now, obviously. But
yeah.
She's like, hey, sir, I have this real sugar cane soda over here. I go, what the fuck is that? I go, dude, I drink Pepsi and Sprite and Dr. Pepper.
Right.
She goes, no, so this is made with real sugar cane. No artificial sweeteners, no extra shit. It's just natural soda. And I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. She gave me a free sample. What happened?
You're hooked.
I loved it.
Right.
Like, this is fantastic.
It's the best soda ever.
Did I buy some that day? No. Because I had a bunch of soda at home. But whenever I needed soda again, what did I do?
You were thinking about Jones.
I was like, oh. And to this day.
You're Jonesing.
Dude, I don't even drink caffeine.
Right.
I drink one soda, Sprite, because it has no caffeine. And I drink maybe a Sprite a week.
Sure.
If we go out to dinner, it's different. It's very seldom you'll see a Sprite can in this house.
Right.
Because all I drink is carbonated water and water. Right?
Yeah, sure.
Or it's maybe like an orange juice or milk or something. But,
yeah.
You know, like, so, but whenever I needed soda, what did I do? I was like, I'm going to go pick up some of that Jones.
Yeah.
It was fucking fantastic.
I had clients that would hit me up and say very similar things. Like they would do their own stuff. They would get to a certain point and they go, hey, I need to go beyond. And that's when I was their option. But, the reason why I think I was able to transition from those same positions into sales so well is that I had just a very honest assessment of where do I stack in this person's world, because when times are tough, I'm probably going to be the guy that gets cut.
No, 100%.
So I was always
You're going to be that shrimp person.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
It's like, and so like when 2020 happened, my personal training business took a tank. It just tanked is what I meant to say. But yeah, it took a dive. I tanked.
No, it took a tank.
And I took a tank and just ran over people, right? Just omelet style. But like
killdozer style.
Yeah, killdozer. But it was a time where I was honest with people in the sense of, hey, times are tough. You're not working, therefore you're not making money. And if you're not making money and you're my client, I'm now not making money. One of the things I would do with people is I would still have like park meetups or Zoom sessions here and there, and I would go, look, we're all broke together. No reason to be out of shape and unfit. So we're at least going to keep.
That's so.
We're going to try. So I would give free resources all the time, or we would do park workouts, and I would have like Lysol wipes out in the park. Sun's beating down on us, so I was drying that alcohol off real quick. We were distance away. I'd have people running sprints on the kettlebells, and we were having fun. So I just had a very honest assessment of where do I stack up in this person's life. So like, when you have those times where something's just not a good fit, I'm okay walking away from it because I'm not emotionally attached to this deal. And the way I always looked at it when I was making deals was, if I'm attached to the solution more than the business owner, then it's my solution to the problem. It's not their solution to the problem. And I wanted to always be their solution.
Sure.
Because if I can be their solution to their problem, then we have a higher likelihood of making a good deal come together and actually having a good partnership. And that's how I looked at it. Like, I have to be a partner in this because I have a whole team of people on our side that are depending on me to bring in this new business, but also make sure the relationship is managed properly. And if I can't hand that off, then I'm not doing my job.
Well, I've always looked at sales in my pipeline and things of like, I'm not a slaughterhouse. This is a dairy farm.
Yeah.
I don't take the cow to the butcher and then the cow's done and then we eat the meat and it's over on the next cow. It's a dairy farm for me, right? Mm-hmm. I keep such a good relationship with my clients and I try to make them as happy as possible so like I can keep milking the cow forever and they keep getting results out of me.
Right.
Like it's just like how it works. So like whenever I tell any new clients, I'm like, listen, man, like the game plan is to grow with you, right? This is not you pay me one time and let's hope it works. Like this is like, hey Nate, year one we have a $5,000 budget. Year two, you kicked ass. We have a $10,000 budget.
Yes.
Year three, hey, now we have a $40,000 budget. Like, what can we do? And then we just keep scaling.
That's how, in my mind and in my heart of hearts, that's really how it should be. Because a good partnership is exactly that. It is a partnership. I don't like using the analogy of like a marriage because I think they're two completely different relationships. But in a way, there are similarities where like, I'm here for a long-term commitment. I want to see you grow. I want to see you succeed. I want to be there whenever your company goes public and you split. I remember, hey man, you remember when you were stressing over that SEO program? Right. Yeah, look how awesome that is now. I would love to have that conversation with somebody one day. So that's why I'm honest with if you're hesitant now because of XYZ reason, yeah, there's all those objection handling methods and stuff if you just have to go for the sale and go for the close. And there are times for those for sure, but I never like the idea of pushing or strong-arming or lying to somebody.
There's no need.
There's no need.
There's so much opportunity out there. Like I think there's, like I said before, man. I think it's like every year, like 2 million businesses open, and obviously we know 60% of them fail. Sorry, it's terrible. I wish it wasn't the case.
But the numbers are the numbers.
But the numbers are the numbers, and there has to be, if you get a product from a factory, right? They have what's called a yield rate. Mm-hmm. Most factories require it to have a 96% yield rate. There's still meaning that at least 4% is going to be just effective. And
those are the numbers you have to learn to play, like what we were talking about before. If you learn to fill those buckets up and you play the numbers, Jacob was the best one that put it in my head. Sales is always a numbers game.
It always is.
Because if you could get so many reps in one position, well, then you just look at, and like what we built, how many calls does it take you to get a qualified appointment set? How many qualified appointments does it take for you to get to a close?
No, you flip it on
What's
average,
the dollar amount that you need to close to make your numbers? Now work backwards.
Well, we did that, right? So we figured out ABS, average volume sale. We figured out how many calls per appointment. So me, I was actually it was really low for me. I need it was like 24.7 calls for every appointment. That's really, really good.
That's really good.
Really, really good. I was very blessed in that. So look, I know every day.
I think it was like 50.
but still, that's really good. Like, that's really, really good. But like in my early career of that, I knew, hey, no matter what happens, Nate, on average, it's going to take you 25-ish calls to make an appointment.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how hard a day is or how much your back is against the wall, make the 25 calls at least. And stats show it's going to happen. In the AVS, right, average value of sale, if you know your quota is $1,500 of recurring revenue, right, and you know your average deal is $300, you need to make 5 sales.
Exactly. And just break down the numbers, because then...
It makes so much sense when you look at it like that.
You don't have to rack your brain with these, and really your heart for that matter, with the emotional attachment of a deal because you're behind the ball. You have to logically trust the numbers are going to even out.
What's that movie, Moneyball? Where the guy, Jonah Hill, Brad Pitt, is it Moneyball? I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But he found like the formula for baseball, like how they, and it's like what they knew, like when they recruit players, that's like the formula they use now.
Yeah.
It was like they figured out like what does it take to get on base percentage. Like they weren't looking at how many home runs this guy hits or RBIs. It was like just what of his, and for all those who are out there that have seen it, please correct me in the comments. But I think it was like they found the formula of, oh, well, this guy has a X rating for his on bat percent or his on base percentage. Mm-hmm. That's what we want. We want that guy.
Yeah.
Because we know, hey, this guy Tim, every 1 out of every 10 bats, he's going to come up and hit a home run. We don't want that guy. We want the guy that's going to get on base 7 out of 10 times.
Yes.
Right? Because he moves the board around.
He moves the board, exactly.
Right.
And that's the other thing too is, again, it's funny because like I know we've kind of gone off on tangents, but like going back and kind of thinking of like what advice would I give to these people? What have we covered? So one, like, be consistent, show up, don't be afraid to go out there and at least put in the reps. So consistency, put the reps in. Play the numbers.
Yeah.
I've always heard people say know your numbers, but no, I think you have to play the numbers.
Yes.
Because if you know how many times it takes you to get to some money-making activity, and this is where Jacob, I can hear him talking through me here. Jacob, if you're watching this, shout out to you, man.
You're the fucking man.
Yeah, you are. But
I love that guy.
It wasn't just doing the activity to get the numbers in those areas. It was meaningful activity.
Oh, yeah.
If you set
busy work.
Yeah, because you could set bullshit appointments. So, like you said, if you could tell somebody's taking an appointment just to be nice to you, do you really count that one? No, right? And I mean,
I do during a dial-a-thon because I want to go home.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, if it's hey, I need to get so much activity logged so that way I look like I'm doing something.
So we get a pizza party or whatever.
Yeah, maybe for like the pizza party shit, I could see that.
Yeah, because there would be days where I'd put 20 appointments on the board, but I mean, we would like
19 would cancel.
19 would cancel because we were just trying to get to 50 appointments and we can go home at 3 o'clock.
Exactly.
So they're like, hey, can you just fucking get appointments? I'm like, they're gonna be shit, but yep.
Right, but it's like, hey, I put 20 out of 50 on the board. Yeah, that's a pretty good. I mean, that's 40% of the work. But the rest of the team can make up the 30.
You know what my boss taught me too in regards to that? It's called hope casting. You heard that before?
Hope casting?
Hope casting. You remember doing your forecast, right?
Yeah.
So your forecast.
Oh.
So out there, if you're going to get in sales, don't ever do this because if you ever work for me, I fire you on the spot.
I have a different term for this, but I want to hear what you say first.
So what do you call it?
Well, say your term and I'll tell you what we call it.
So forecasting is, let's say every 2 weeks, you should really be doing it every week, but every 2 weeks or maybe every month, however your system works, you need to basically forecast what you're expecting to do, where you're going to end for the following month, okay? Or the upcoming month, right? So if I know, hey, December's, what day is it? December 3rd.
Yeah.
So we'll do January. I know in January, I already have 10 meetings lined up. Okay. On average, I close 30% of my meetings for an AVS of $300, okay? So I know my forecast would be $900.
$900, you get 3 meetings.
Exactly, they close for $300.
300, yes.
Right. So, and that's marginal, right? So they can go up and down a little bit. Maybe I close an extra one. Maybe I close 2 more. Maybe I don't close any. It happens.
But statistically, you are likely to close $900.
Exactly. You forecast $900, right? That's not my numbers. Those are very low. My forecast was a little more beefier, but
add a zero.
Yeah, add a couple zeros. The same with you, Mike. Actually, matter of fact, but
just easy math, right?
Easy math, right? So what people would do is called Hopecast, and they would say, "Oh, well, I have 15, 20 meetings next month already lined up. I think my AVS is this," and then they'll puff it up a little bit. "Oh, well, my AVS is $200, but I'm actually getting pretty good, so I think I can make it $500.
I think I could go 1,000.
Yeah.
So something really high.
Right, and the highest my AVS ever was like $880, which is pretty fucking high.
Yeah.
And there was reps out there that were doing. I mean, dude, some reps had 2,000 AVS, like fucking nuts, nut numbers, man, crazy numbers. But yeah, so hope casting, right, is the worst thing you can do because you're lying to yourself. The expectation from your manager it's going to be higher because they're, I remember I did this one time and I hope casted one time. This is why I actually taught me this. She goes, well, you hope casted me. She goes, listen, man. I'm like, she's like, we're the last week of the month, and you told me you were going to write $6,000.
Right.
You're at $4,000. She's like,
you're too shy.
She's like, figure it out. She's like, you're the one that told me this. She's like, you're the one that told me you're going to write $6,000, not me. I didn't give you this number. She's like, figure it out. And thank God, can't thank God enough. I figured it out. Yeah. And I wrote my number in a little bit more, which is fantastic. But yeah, dude, like when you hope cast, it looks good initially because it makes you look good on paper.
Yeah.
Like, like whenever in sports, right? Especially if they do this in the NBA, they'll say that somebody is a little taller than what they really are.
Oh yeah.
They'll say pro wrestling, right? This guy's 7'3", 500 pounds. You meet him in person, he's 6'6", 280.
Yeah.
Dude, you're hope casting and you're showing yourself as this when in reality you're really this.
Yeah.
So at the end of that month, if you don't hit that hope cast number, all you have to do now is backtrack and say, fuck, well now I'm screwed because I pretty much promised this, but I delivered this.
Yeah.
And now you're fucked. So what do you call it?
We called it getting high on hopium.
Oh yeah. I've heard that many, many times.
That one cracked me up the most because it's like, woo, someone's getting high on opium over there, and like we would say it as a joke, but it was a nice gut check for people too. Like, well, why do you say that? Because of course you're like, those are numbers. Those are real numbers. An employee that, and again, no names here, but one we were talking about before.
Same employee,
same guy.
Oh yeah.
He would have these. Yeah. Well, no, I'll say this. It was a guy, but he would have obnoxious expectations set on himself because he was behind. So then he thought, well, hey, if I just raise it higher, then I'll hit it. And I would agree to a certain extent. I think because I've heard this before where, my buddy George actually is the one that told me this. Hey, our game every day was make 10 new friends. Okay, well, how many friends did you make today? Well, I made like 7. Okay, tomorrow you're going to make 15 new friends. Well, wait a minute, I didn't make 10. How are you going to tell me to do 15? Well, obviously you can put the effort in to get to 7. So if you put the effort in to get to 7, now double it and get to 15. And you're like, well, what the hell? That's stupid. Well, the next day you put in the effort and like, oh shit, I made 15 new friends today. Oh, well, 10's not so bad, is it? So now 15 is your new number. And so like I understand that, but again, it comes down to you still have to do the work that justifies. If you trace the numbers back, you're still going to get the same progress that you would have the other way. But if you have to double down and actually do the meaningful,
the right thing,
quality work to move the needle forward. And that's the thing. If you're just doing the work to do the work, it's going to show.
Well,
if you're doing the work to move the needle,
and
again, money-making activity was what Jacob always talks about.
Money-making activity.
If it's not leading to an appointment, and if that appointment is not leading to a close, you're really just pissing in the wind.
For sure. So, like, for example, like I always tell this to people, because I've learned a lot about financial literacy too, and I'm on a good track. I think I can always get better. But when I tell people, dude, if you're shitty with money at $200K, that doesn't mean quit your job.
You'd be worse at 4.
No, not. It's actually the opposite, right? Like, I'm sure that's true, but it goes to what I'm saying. Like, I'm like, dude, like if you think, oh, I'm only terrible with money because I have so much. Like the goal to fix the remedy is not quit your job and go make $30K.
Right.
Like because now you're just going to spend the same. You're going to have the same spending habits.
Oh, now you're really screwed. Yeah.
Now you're fucked. So like that's not the answer.
No.
Right. The answer is fix your spending habits.
Yes. That's the
thing. It's not. And to that guy's point, what he was trying to do was like, oh well, if I say I'm going to do more, I'll do more. No, man. No.
If you do it.
If you do it. If you do what you're supposed to do, you shouldn't have a problem hitting that number.
Yes, exactly. But again, it's. In that particular instance, it was getting someone to focus on money-making activity versus perceived work ethic.
Sure.
And I think in his mind, he perceived that he was working really, really hard, really, really diligent. And I think there's a lot of merit to that, and that's good.
What probably was he was doing all the wrong things.
But when you look at the actual reports of what are the metrics that we do track for money-making activity, well, the activity report shows this. How many dials did you make? How many appointments did you set? How many did you hold? How many did you close? Those are the 4 buckets that you're trying to fill. You should have a shit ton of appointments set, or a shit ton of dials made.
Well, it's trickle down, right?
Exactly. To get to a good amount of appointments.
The funnel goes like this, and it narrows.
Yes.
And then whatever comes out the bottom of the funnel is closed deals.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, you can work really, really hard, dude, but if I'm telling you, you have a pot of water, and I give you a ladle with fucking holes in the bottom of it, right?
You're trying to go...
But it doesn't matter. You could scoop 1,000 times, and you're not going to get a drop out.
Or you can put a little piece of gum on the bottom and patch some of the holes up.
Anything.
Yeah. Or patch some meaningful holes up.
Or have the right tools. Do the right thing, man. That's the biggest thing.
I still think of, sorry to interrupt, I think of that dial-a-thon story that I told you where we were trying to just beef up the activity.
Oh, yeah.
And me and that other different employee, but me and another guy went head-to-head, and we were just making dials.
TD?
Yeah, we were hundreds of dials a day, and we're at the point where we were just fucking exhausted by Wednesday morning. And I'm looking at my numbers. I've already logged in like at least like 500 dials, and it's like the third day of the week. I've done my entire week's worth of activity, and it might have even been more than that. And I'm like, hey man, if we get to this, you're supposed to split first and second. I got to a certain point where at that point I was so tired of the activity because I knew in my head it was meaningless. I was just dialing just to dial.
Sure.
That Wednesday, I switched from dialing to dial to make quality appointments. And yeah, then that's when that funny thing is, that's where the majority of my appointments came the rest of the week. I still had some for the first days because volume-wise, mathematically it worked out. But the quality appointments, ones that actually closed, came from that third day and beyond. I don't think I closed anything in the first days. I had like something stupid. I mean, I'd have to ask Jacob the story on it, but I know like day one, I put like 400 calls on the books or some shit. Because I remember thinking I did a week's worth of activity that one day.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a single meeting from there that closed. But a few days later when I said, let me slow down and put quality over the quantity.
Yeah, so now your 200 drops to 140, but it's better quality, right?
Or even if I hit 100, you know, I'm doing almost the bare minimum that our company required for the daily activity. But I was doing it in a way where even I would tell the owners on the phone, like, hey man, listen, with all due respect, like I hear what you're saying, but it doesn't sound like you're in a position to really like move now. Can I just call you first of the year? I mean, holidays are busy. I would give them the out.
Yeah, yeah.
And if they take it, okay, then I know it's not the right time. But
right.
No. Give me a second. I got 5 minutes. Let's talk.
Yeah.
Then that's their choice. They're making the effort.
Yeah.
Almost never did I hear that.
What I was telling you earlier too is like, you know, in my early part of my career when I knew nothing about the digital world when I started there, and I had some great trainers and great resources and great mentors, and it made me into a fucking animal.
Yeah.
And I'm very blessed to be a part of all those people. I think honestly, man, like we never knew how good we had until it was gone. We worked for the best company in history.
Vimeo was an amazing company when it was still around, and I think there's so much good about just the culture that they created.
Well, dude, just the talent was there, dude. Like the talent, like it's hard to find a fucking team like the '96 Bulls, dude, does not come around often.
No.
Okay. Like the only other team that I can think of that was equivalent to the '96 Bulls was the 2016 fucking Golden State Warriors, and they beat the Bulls record for most games won.
Yeah.
They lost like 8 games that year, right? Like, it's not too often, dude, when you find just a fucking everybody in that building, dude, for the most part. There was some people that didn't last, but the people that last, I'd say if you lasted over a year there, like you were top tier. Like you were,
and I would put the culture kind of created that too.
Absolutely, our leadership team was just phenomenal, dude. They could weed out the bullshit, but like they would be there to support you if you needed it. But they'd be the first person to kick you in your ass and be like, "Hey, listen, dude, just cut the shit."
Yeah,
like you're fucking up.
That's one reason I was very spoiled because I knew when we started that job. Obviously, it was a post-COVID world, so a lot of reps were remote.
Oh yeah,
I think yourself included. You were remote most of the time, and you were crushing it.
And I joined before the pandemic. I joined in 2018.
Right.
So I was there.
So when you guys shifted, it was a different world for you, but you pivoted and adapted to a point where you're like, I don't have to do 100 calls a day.
Yeah.
You were very quality-minded.
I was established with that.
And I think it showed in your posture that you had even when you walked around new reps. Like there was a confidence, there was a calm, there was a collectedness that you just were able to have because of all the work you had done. One thing that I learned, and this is I don't know what you would call this, if this is just kind of a talent of mine that I've had for years, is if I wanted to be really, really good in something, I would seek somebody out that I also deemed to be just an absolute killer or a monster or just somebody very expertly proficient in what I'm looking to do. When I wanted to learn how to bend horseshoes into paper clips, I saw that Dave Whitley. When I wanted to learn how to bend steel bars into really artistic designs, Dave helped me, but he actually put me in touch with another guy named Eric that Dave thought was even better at that skill than himself, so he's like, hey, you're going to go here. When I came to work for Vimeo, specifically, I was blessed because even though I was in the same aisle, I put my desk directly across from my manager. And that was Jacob.
And because arguably one of the best managers in
one of the best ones, and as far as
one of the best managers I've ever seen.
Yeah, and so I learned because I knew he was an exceptionally gifted and seasoned and developed sales rep. I wanted to learn his style because, again, I didn't have one, so I needed to find something. Well, then when you learn, like you said, the bare bones of everything, when you get the process in the system, then you can kind of get your own little flavor of it, right? Yeah. So, like, if you know how to cook the steak to a perfect medium rare every time,
now you can season
however the hell you like. As long as you know, we're going to take the steak, we're going to see this is the time of season.
Yep.
let it rest. This is the time to get on the grill. It's got to go here. It's got to go here.
Right.
Pull it off. You let it rest, and then you're ready.
Yep.
The sequence of events to get that should be virtually identical. How you season it along the way, if you use garlic or this or that.
Well, I always do the same with scripts. Like I told you, Ken and I wrote the script for the Home Advisor stuff, right? And I was like, guys, I don't expect you to sound like a robot. You're never going to sound like me. You're never going to sound like Ken Jones. You're never going to sound like anybody. You're yourself, right? So memorize it and then switch out a word or two. If you would never say the word, let's say you would never say the word mesmerized, right? That wasn't in the script. Let's say you'd never say that, right? You'd be like, oh, John, you're going to be mesmerized, right? Instead, you'd be like, John, I really think you're going to be amazed by this. Yeah. You just, same meaning, same overall concept. It's just you pick and pull.
And you might even change it to the situation. Hey, I think we're going to really impress you on this one.
Yeah, exactly. But it's the same idea.
Yeah,
it's the same exact execution.
As long as you know what the process is and you can implement that.
Where you're going.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I think things like that straight line method is why a lot of people gravitate to that. They go, oh, this is the holy Bible of sales. I think it identifies some key facts along the way, but you still have to get reps in doing them.
Yep.
Ultimately, where a lot of that rant and tangents and ramblings go is, I would say, going back to your original question of what would you tell someone, learn the process, trust the process, and just work the process. And work the process until you've worked absolutely every last bit of it you can out of it. And then that's when you should go to other people. Well, actually, along the way, ask other people how they approach certain things, because you're going to be open to it. Don't be like the one guy we were talking about where you're so functionally fixed on it has to be my way. I want to try and do this new thing no one's ever done. Well, you haven't done the thing that everyone has done yet. So how are you going to do something no one's ever seen if you can't do the thing we have seen?
Yeah, man. Why are you trying to invent a new product, a derivative off of what's already invented? You haven't even mastered what's there.
You're trying to create a new card trick and you don't even know what sleight of hand is. You don't even know how to manipulate the deck. How are you going to create a new trick no one's ever seen if you don't know the ones we have?
Yeah, dude, Tony Hawk didn't do the 900 before learning how to skateboard.
Exactly.
Before learning how to push.
He still had to balance. Right. So put your time in and then do the cool shit.
Yeah. So this is the last thing I'll say about the sales board. Then I want to jump into a little bit more about your business. Yeah. And then we'll do whatever. But so the most important, one of the most important things I think I've ever learned in regards to sales is something that we talked about Rich earlier. Mm-hmm. One of our directors, Rich, great guy. He told me, Nate, how do you view sales? And I was like, well, sales are transaction. People want things, we sell them, right? And he was like, no. He's like, you're looking at it wrong. I was very young. I was 20. I think I was 21 when I started the company. Okay. And I was the youngest person in the company though for a long time. Yeah. And then as I got older, I was like, fuck, they're hiring younger guys than me. Fuck, I'm a dinosaur here. But
the nice thing is that those 22-year-olds are always 22, right?
Yeah. What did Matthew McConaughey say in Kids and Confused? He goes, what's cool about high school girls? He's like, I keep getting old, but they stay the same.
Yeah, it's basically that. Yeah.
I was like, I'm paraphrasing. I was like, fuck, that's so.
funny. It's the same thing when you get those kids that are coming fresh out of college. That fresh out of college age is always the fresh out of college age.
Right. But so Richard Dowdy told me when I was at that age, he's like, Nate, no man, sales is like this. He sat me down in his office and he goes, let me tell you something. He goes, I've been playing sports, coaching sports my whole life. Sales are like this. He goes, you ever play sports? Yeah, I played sports. He goes, did you ever make it to the postseason? I was like, yeah, I made the playoffs many times. Mm-hmm. And he was like, okay. He was like, sales, there's no season. Every month is the playoffs. Yep. And either at the end of the month, you win the championship or you don't. Mm-hmm. He goes, the difference is, though, you win the NBA Finals, you get 4 months off. You win the World Series, you get 4 months off. You win the fucking Stanley Cup, you get 3 months off or 2 months off. Hockey's very short.
If it's hockey, it's 2 weeks off.
Yeah, it's very I don't know for sure.
Hockey just goes forever. I love watching. I just cannot keep up with it. But I get
to your point, right? So hockey, love hockey too. But it's a very short off season, right? And they're training the whole time. Those guys are good. But anyway, so he goes, Nate, either you win the championship or you don't. Mm-hmm. There's no off season, and you immediately go back to the playoffs, first round, first week, right?
The next day.
He said 4 rounds. He goes, there's 4 rounds of playoffs every month. Mm-hmm. There's 4 weeks.
Okay, that's fair.
Round 1, first week. Round 2, second week. Round 3, third week. Round 4, fourth week, right? By the 4th week, you're either making it to the championship and you're winning it, or you're losing. Or you could be knocked out the second week, or first week or whatever, right? It all depends. So, he was like, Nate, sales is like that analogy in sports. You're always in the playoff mode and you either win the championship or you don't. Mm-hmm. The whole point is, though, right, when the month comes around, you celebrate for that weekend or that that week, that day, whatever the month ends on, right? Because there'll be days where the month ends on a Tuesday, mm-hmm. The new month rolls around to Wednesday. Right. That's a short celebration.
Right.
That's a celebration overnight. Monday or
especially like middle of the week.
Yeah, right. So it's Tuesday, right? Tuesday's the end of the month. It's 31st or whatever. You go home, you celebrate. Fuck yeah, man! This is great, fantastic, right?
Yeah.
Wednesday's first of the month. Hey, dude, everything you did last month doesn't matter.
Yeah, that was yesterday.
That was yesterday. What are you doing today, right?
It's a review.
Right, absolutely. That's a different world. And when I started looking at it like that, it made me kind of put in perspective, like, dude, like this is I'm playing at the highest level. In theory, right?
Right.
So, like, I should be performing at the highest level, right? Like you see in real sports, right? People at the beginning of people at the start of the season, they don't play as hard as they would in the postseason, right? You see that all the fucking time, especially in basketball. Like LeBron, for example, love LeBron. He'll sit 30 games of the year, but he's not missing a minute. He's playing all 62 minutes or whatever it is during the postseason.
He's doing the work.
Right. So when Rich told me that, he's like, Nate, I need you performing like it's the postseason. Because this isn't 2 weeks into the season. We could fuck up and lose our next 30 games and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, dude, this is it. Like, this is do or die. Sales is do or die. You're in the postseason. Either you win the championship or you don't. And once he told me that, it opened up my mind to just think about how incredible of an opportunity sales are and where you can take it and how you can just really progress your life. Sales is the most highest paying industry in the world.
Yeah, and the nice thing is, and this is something I've thought about as well, because in addition to that, when you look at what we really offer, at the end of the day, and this is a little bit of like the eternal optimist in me, and just I guess the idealistic goal of if what we're doing, let's just assume what we do works, right? If I know for a fact that my team and what I'm representing and what I'm trying to put in someone's hand or what I'm trying to put in their head is a concept or a service or a product or a tech or whatever it is that is going to help them move the needle forward. And it's essential, and it's been proven that we can help do that with other businesses, and we have a track record of it, then I'm doing you a service by reaching out and seeing if we can have a partnership, because you might be too scared to do that on your own, or you might have your own preconceived notions of how this should go. If I can come in and say, actually, this process is way easier than you think, and here's why, and I'm doing my job, then I really am helping to move the world forward, because how do I know that my targeted ad campaign for Tesla didn't help a neighborhood get some amazing turbine that helps them cut down their electric or whatever because we made a contract deal with the city? You know, or because their ad work for some city government official.
I
mean, you could daisy chain yourself down any number of rabbit holes of opportunities and possibilities, but ultimately, at the end of the day, if you believe in what you're doing and you believe what you do works, then you owe it to the people that you're calling to say, listen, you can tell me to piss off, but at least I'm taking my shot. You know, and I need to be able to do that. So, like, yeah, there's a little bit of a I'm doing people a favor that I always put in my head when I was doing it, because, you know, like, I come from the fitness background. My goal is to help you be as healthy and as fit as I can possibly help you get within the confines of what you've told me are your goals.
Sure.
So if I'm doing my job, then
we're obviously getting there.
Then we're making progress, right? And if for whatever reason either I check that box and we have to reassess a goal, or we're not getting the job done, I have to be open to myself to understand, like, what do I need to change in order to make this work? So sales is essential because it's moving services and products to the people that need it the most. You know, we really shouldn't be trying to convince anybody of anything other than what they already knew in the first place.
For sure. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
And that's kind of goes back to, like, our selling principles and, like, why we did well is because we cared.
Yeah.
We did things the right way.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, we
put the right service in the right hands.
We could have made millions if we would have just scammed everybody. But,
it's way easier, right?
I'd rather be a fucking slightly above.
This reminds me of a meme I saw, like, right around and I'll be a little bit on the politically correct side when I say this, but let's just say when a lot of the rise of the digital content creators that we see on the social medias, right, on whatever platforms they may choose and however fans they may have or not.
You mean prostitutes?
Yeah. I just lobbed that up there for you.
Yeah. I'm not politically correct, so whatever.
Well, and just,
what, are they going to cancel me? Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. What I find, oh man, I had a point. Hold on, give me a second here.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Actually, I'm not sorry. I'm glad I said that. But
well, what I was saying was, like, in the that's what it was. I saw this meme go out there where it's like, you know, hey, there are these people that are, you know, selling pictures of their feet and making $200,000 in online and living in yachts and on beaches, and I'm grinding at my $60K a year desk job with my morals and shit. It's like at a certain point, like if you just accept, like, yeah, I don't feel right taking someone's money that doesn't really have it or doesn't really need this service. Yeah, you can make a lot of money. Like, how many people actually need a $20 subscription for someone eating food in a duck costume or some crazy stuff, or something a little bit more
risque?
Yeah, than that.
Sure.
Yeah, those are opportunities that are there, but like it's just not my style. It's not my thing. And
I agree
good on the people that do it, but you're right. We could make more money if we just scam people.
I'd rather live and die in poverty and have my morals and integrity than be a billionaire and be a piece of shit.
Yeah.
I mean, every fucking day of the week, I choose that. I would choose that every single day.
And then you get guys like me on the other hand, where I'm like, I hear what you're saying and I agree with you, but like, is there a sliding scale where like about the millionaire? Like, is there like maybe a couple white lies I could embellish at the millionaire level? I did the billionaire and be sleazy and shit, but like. Yeah, I can live and die with my morals, but like, is there like one white lie that gets me like a couple million?
Well, I think there is, because sometimes though you have to kind of do a little white lie, and this is going to sound shitty, but this is just the reality of sales. Sometimes you have to do a little white lie to push that person over the edge, because you know deep in your heart it's good for them and it's the best thing for them, but they just won't believe unless they hear it. So, like, for example, right? I hate getting sick. Okay? I fucking hate getting sick. It's the worst thing in the world, right? When I was a little kid, I would get sick. My mom would force feed me cough syrup, okay? And she knew I fucking hated it. But what would get me better?
The cough syrup. Medicine.
So my mom one time fucking lied to me, and she would always, oh, God bless, she would always buy this grape.
Nate's reliving some trauma here.
Oh my God, no, seriously, like I don't like grape flavored shit because of this. Like, I like grapes. I like grapes. I eat grapes straight up, but like the chalky.
The artificial grape flavor is different.
It's so bad, dude.
It's not the same.
It's so bad. So anyway, she would buy this fucking grape, and I get sick, a couple times a year as an average kid did.
Right.
And every time I got sick, I fucking would try to hide it because I knew. I was like, fuck.
You knew that cough syrup was coming.
Right. So what did my mom do? After years of torturing me with the grape, she got watermelon. I like watermelon.
Watermelon's not bad.
Watermelon candy's great. My favorite Jolly Ranchers are watermelon Jolly Ranchers, right? So I'm excited. I'm like, oh, this ain't gonna be that bad. I get sick, it's okay, right?
Right.
So she embellishes me. She goes, hey, you're really gonna like this. It's not that bad. She'll fake drink. You know how fucking parents are. Fake drink some. Yeah. I don't know the difference. I'm fucking 6 years old. I don't know. I'm like, wow, my mom's drinking it too. This is great. Well, so she acts like she drinks some, and she goes, here, I'm not feeling good either. I'll try some. You try it after me. Oh, it tastes so good. Tastes so good, right?
It did not taste good, did it?
Tasted horrible. Tasted horrible. But what happened? You got better. I got better. Yeah. So, like, sometimes... Is it ethical to tell people a little baby white lie?
Well,
because no matter if you're confident enough and you know for sure that this is going to help them, I think it is worth it.
I will say, in my opinion, that's where the sales comes in.
Yeah.
Everything up into that, and maybe it's just the way that I viewed it, and you could say it's the same thing, and I would probably agree with you, because there's certain things that I just don't put enough of an emotional dog in that fight that I would really argue over. But me educating a client up to a certain point and then watching them like, they're kind of him and hawing, and I go, hey, listen, man, we have a great team. We have people that are going to back you up 100% of the way. You can always reach out. I'm going to be here as well. Now I'm selling you on, now I'm trying to ease the comfort a little bit. To me, that's where the real sales is, or the persuasion. But at the end of the day, it's nuts and bolts. Like, okay, you have a need, I have a solution.
How do we put those together?
Yes.
I look at it like this, right? So, like, let's say we're selling SEM, right? And on average, for every 10 clicks, you can get, I wouldn't say guarantee, but you can almost say it's a goal, right?
You know there's going to be at least something that's going to move towards a money-making activity.
Sure, right? So if I meet a guy, and he goes, Nate, I just need work right now, man. I created a strategy.
Yeah.
It's a strong SEM campaign. I think it's going to be good. He goes, okay, well, Nate, will this get me 25 calls? And I know it won't get him 25 calls, but it'll get him 20. And it's better than him getting one call a week now.
Yeah.
I'll say something on the lines where I won't lie and say yes, but I'll say, hey, listen, honestly, man, for what you have going on this scale, you could expect anywhere, I'd say, between 15 to 25 to maybe even more calls, right?
Right.
I would say something like that. So, like, it is a little white lie, right?
Yeah.
But, like, he could get 25 calls for sure. But on a more consistent and more honest answer, he really is going to get anywhere between, I'd say, 15 to 22 calls, right? In my heart, I know that that's better than him not getting any calls. Well, and he's making a killer fucking return. And so if the cards are stacked like that, I think it's justifiable. But if it's like, hey, sir, I need 25 calls to justify this, and you know you're only going to give him 7 calls, you better not fucking do it.
No, I would
because that's horrible, and you're a terrible person. And people do it.
And to your point, again, it's like, well, is this going to give me X amount? Well, here's the thing. Can you deadlift 400 pounds right now? No. Well, what are you deadlifting? Well, I'm deadlifting this. Okay. This is the system we're going to do to gradually get you up there. Absolutely. Are you going to get this tomorrow? No. Are we going to move the needle forward? Yeah. Well, what's 315 going to do for you? Well, man, I feel amazing with 315. Right.
Great.
Okay. Well, right now you're getting 10 calls. How would you feel with another, like, let's say 5 to 10? Well, we'd be pretty busy. Okay. Well, then how would you feel with another 10 to 15? Okay. So you see that, like, and that's the thing. I'll even ask people, if I dropped 100 calls on you today, are you going to be able to handle it? No. Okay. So then let's grow. And I'm not lying to them at any point because, again, I've used this with people all the time. If my program works perfectly day one, right out of the box, like let's say tomorrow everything's up and running and I can drop 100 new clients on your lap tomorrow, can you take the business? I very rarely have people say yes.
Nobody ever say yes. And they say yes, they're lying.
Well, and if you say yes, then you've got other issues, right?
Yeah.
Then you don't need me.
I'd say, why do you have 500 employees doing nothing?
Right.
That's what I would say.
You need this more than you think you do.
Right.
You've got some payroll that's really going to be eating you.
Right. As a matter of fact, we need to increase your budget.
Right. Exactly. So then, yeah. Right.
No, but I agree. The only time I've ever had to lie in sales is just something like that, and I don't really think I don't really think you're lying. I just think
I don't think you are. I think you're. Again, it's
a cost serve thing for me. I know this is going to get you better.
For sure, but you're not really lying.
I mean, it's going to be better for them. I know we can get to there, right? You're talking about the scaling up, right? Like right now, we're going to start at the 15 to 20 calls, and then we're going to grow. After I get you a shit ton of revenue under the belt, and you have this exposable money now that you can use, now we're going to get 25.
Well, and that's the thing. And by the way, I'm so looking forward to seeing the comments on this when they're like, "Oh, that's a lie." Yes, you're right. There are people that lie in sales. I don't know what to tell you. I think personally, you and I operate from a place of we always tried to be as realistic and honest with people as we could. And there were times I had no problem telling people I don't know. You know.
Well, sometimes you don't know.
Yeah,
you're supposed to know everything. And if me answering I don't know makes or breaks our relationship, then so be it. But I'd rather
we weren't ready for that next phase.
Sure, I'd rather have somebody be like, "Hey, well, Nate, like I don't want to move forward because you couldn't answer this." And if I don't know the answer and I don't even know how to find the answer, then so be it, man. Like that's
how about this? Can you give me an hour? I'll text a few people. I'll reach out and I'll shoot you a message by.
Yeah, if I have the answer, I'll be the first person to tell you. If I don't, then so be it. But yeah, man, I agree with you. Like, I'd much rather have a deal fail for that reason than me persuade this guy, persuade him into doing the deal, and then 90 days later, we have a tough conversation. I don't want that.
Yeah,
it's not worth my time. It's not worth the instant gratification of, I landed a deal. I'd rather find these deals with people that are a good fit for me. I'm a good fit for them, right? Mm-hmm. There's a mutual beneficiary there. Both of us are in the same wheelhouse to do well, and then we don't have to have any we don't have to have any tough conversations.
You don't have to have that breakup talk,
right? I don't want to do that. It's a waste of time.
Yeah, I'd rather have the scale up than the breakup.
Like, I don't gain anything as a person, right? And when I was in the industry, obviously I'm not now, but when I was in the industry, I gained nothing as a person. Like, so if I sold you a program or a strategy that I knew was going to fail and you didn't catch on for 6 months, it wouldn't mean shit to me. It wouldn't do anything for me. I might get paid out on it, sure. That's cool, but like that's a shitty thing to do. One, is a shitty thing to do, and two, now I'm back to the slaughterhouse. I slaughtered the cow instead of milking it. And I don't want to say milking like we're milking your clients like we're using. That's not the way. But in relationship business, like if you're my livestock, I don't want to use you and throw you in the trash. I want to keep you healthy.
You want a mutually beneficial relationship.
Well, you ever see how dairy cows are treated?
Yeah.
They're treated very well.
They're treated very well by comparison, for sure.
Absolutely. And I want to treat my dairy cow very, very well. So why? Because the dairy cow gives me milk consistently. I want to wash them. I want to treat them. I want to feed them right. I want to make sure they're happy. I want to make sure they're satisfied.
And you want your marketing campaign to show why this is the best fucking dairy farm out there, because they wash and treat the cows well and they treat them right. So,
absolutely.
Yes. And so you have to have that. I had a point I was going to make to that, and I lost it myself. But
sorry, dude.
No, it wasn't you. I sidetracked myself on that one.
Happens to me all the time.
Yeah, I think.
Who were you?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Well, I think what I was thinking of, like in the industry of what we did in sales. Really, at the end of the day, if you're making honest and transparent business dealings, no matter how you want to phrase it or whatever fits into that bubble, at the very worst situation is, we have to part ways and I lose a client, and hopefully at least we can stay on good terms and say, hey, professionally, we just don't work out. But if, I'm sorry, I think it was going to the quality over quantity thing, but
that's huge.
No, I lost my point.
I get where you're going.
Yeah, it'll come back later on. I think you're right, though. You don't have to be dishonest in order to do the right thing. And as long as you're doing the right thing for the right person, you really can't do any better than that.
Well, what's integrity, right? Doing the right thing when nobody's around.
Exactly.
And I've always believed in that, right? So, like, for example, like when I'm out for hunting, I was always a good example, right? Like my buddy's property backs up to the Gasconade River. Well, what comes with rivers? Floods, okay?
Yes.
And trash and debris sometimes will float up and get... If I'm walking through the woods and I see, like a fucking Coke can or something, like...
Pick it up.
Pick it up, man.
Yeah, leave it better than you found it.
Right, and like, is anybody going to know that?
No.
Is my buddy who owns the property, is he going to know that? No, dude. Is he grateful for it? Yeah, he is. He's a great guy. He's super grateful. He's like, dude, I appreciate you taking care of it. Because I treat that property like it's my own because I respect him so much for letting me come there and hunt there, right?
Right.
If you want to get on Nate's like gratefulness side, let me hunt your land.
Yeah.
I'll do whatever you fucking ask me to, and I will never ask questions in return. Hey, Nate, I need you to help me bury this, 180-pound sack of potatoes at 3 a.m. Cool, man. I'll bring my shovel. I'll be over there, no problem. Won't even ask questions. We'll just do it, and then next week we go out and hunt. So, no, but like...
Potato smell really funny.
Right. But doing the right thing when nobody's around, and just always doing the right thing, no matter even if it's not in your favor, right? It separates the men from the boys, in my opinion. And you'll see that in reps. You'll see reps that we worked with that would sell anybody and everybody, and what happens? 30 days, 90 days, 100 days later, 200 days later,
thank you. That was actually the point I was going to come back to is the only time I ever really felt like I was doing people a disservice was there was another company I ended up working for a little while there where I had very...
Are you under an NDA?
What's that?
Are you still under an NDA?
No.
You tip it.
Well, I have a personal thing. I don't like to put that out there just because I don't know. I just don't like slandering people and I don't like bashing other companies and stuff.
Yeah, but they treated you bad.
It wasn't so much that they treated me bad. I just didn't appreciate the way that they handled the relationship. Like the business that I had brought them, I felt like they were going to your point of like not. I think what I was thinking of was when you talk about treating the cow right and doing the right thing for the customer. I felt like I got to a point with another company where I was doing all the same stuff I did at the company we worked at for this other company, but the problem was they were not in a position to support the same level we were. And it kills me because I thought on paper the services should have been better. But what I found out was the only time I ever really feel like I lied to a client was that my support team just wasn't there. And so then it's like I'm now lying to them, but I didn't know that I was lying because I didn't have a say in the matter, and it was something out of my control. Unfortunately, I had to take ownership of it because, again, I made the deal. I brought in the business. I brought in the relationship. And when the relationship went sour, it was my name attached to it.
Yeah.
So I had to eat a lot of crap, and I had to drink a lot of sour taste in my mouth because, I had a lot of sour milk because my team was not in the position I thought they were. And if I'm out repping the team a certain way and that's not there, then you run into some conflict of that nature. And so, I just chose to just let the relationship deteriorate with me and that company and say, I'm just going to go a different way. I don't know if deteriorate's the right word. I let it
simmer out.
Yeah, I let it simmer out. And I was happy to walk away from it.
I had a similar instance after Vivio when they got bought out and I refused to work for the bad guys. Another marketing company approached me and I worked for them. They were a local firm here, and I'm not going to name either. I guess I won't. But because I did like the owner. His name was John. He was actually a really, really cool guy. Yeah. But the team they had underneath just wasn't good, right? So anytime, so I'm a lone wolf. Okay, I don't need somebody to hold my fucking hand through sales. Never have been. Never will be, right? In this company, anytime I pitched a deal, I had to get my pricing from the owner. Okay. So I would get a prospect online. We talk about things, and whenever they come to the brass tacks of it, hey, what's the price going to be? Mm-hmm. Let me talk to the owner. I gotta run my numbers. I'll get back to you soon, right? So that fucking sucks right there.
Yeah, I don't like that at all.
So that sucks.
But especially where we were used to being able to build everything right there.
Yeah.
Well, I on the spot. There's no question.
I asked him. I was like, "Well, do you want me to close the deals or not?" Because you're just throwing an extra step in for no reason. I'm like, dude, I don't need. It's give me a pricing tool and we'll make it happen. So, anyways, essentially what happened was, I would sell a website, WordPress, e-commerce, something like that, right, for $14,000.
Sure.
That's a fair price for that.
It's not bad.
So, maybe it's a little hot, but, it's still comparable, right? To, if you went to someone else. So, I would say, okay, my owner, Jimmy, fake name, right? Hey, Jimmy, what would be the time frame on this? Oh, we'll have this done in about maybe 90 days. That's great.
Yeah.
Turn around for
$14,000, 90 months?
Or 90 days, yeah. Well, what would happen was I would, so in that process too, at Vivio, it was different. I talk to my clients often, right? So they knew me, they had any issues or questions, they call me. At this company, it's a handoff meeting. So I never talked to them again.
Right.
Okay. 10 months later, I get a call from this real estate company I sold down in Florida. hey man, we've sent emails, called a bunch of times, nobody's ever got back to us. We paid $14,000. Where's our website?
Yeah.
So I called the owner, Jimmy, right? And I said his name earlier, but whatever, people will forget.
Yeah.
But I called Jimmy. Hey Jimmy, client down in Florida, right? Like they want to know where their stuff. Nobody's talked to him. Oh yeah, sorry, we're kind of backlogged. I go, it's been 10 months. I go, and nobody's told them that. Why has nobody told them that?
Yeah.
Like, if it's going to take longer, man, like, just tell them, but don't ignore them. They paid us $14,000. We owe them.
That was very similar to the company that I had.
We owe them X, right? And then so it happened to all my other clients. All the clients and all the deals that I sold, I thought that were, because I would call them after this, because I was trying to figure it out. Mm-hmm. Because my plan, once again, is like, I want to do my best to get you the right strategy so you grow, so then next year, we add more.
Right.
And we do more, and we do more, and we do more. So you're growing, I'm growing.
And I believe that what we were doing was honest and upfront and genuine.
Correct.
And congruent with the deadlines that we established.
Exactly, right? So
otherwise I wouldn't have said it.
Absolutely. I wouldn't have even entertained the conversation if I thought I was going to fail, right? So, when we went down that whole deal, I called all my deals, all like 25, 30 deals that I sold for the 10-month range, and nothing has been done. And they're like, yeah, we're paying $6,000 a month for nothing. I go, okay. I said, do you have records of everything that you did? Mm-hmm. Like, yeah. And they're like, okay, I want you to dispute everything. Yeah. It's like, because this is not fair to you.
No.
Like, and I quit that company. I was like, and they asked me on my exit interview, they're like, well, Nate, like, maybe you just didn't fit in here culturally. And I was like, yeah, maybe I didn't fit in here culturally.
Because I do what I say.
I was like, because like, when you were telling me, the people in the company would always tell me, we need more sales, we need more sales, we need more sales. It was me and one of their sales rep, and she was horrendous too. She was not ethical. I did not get along with her. She would sell anybody and everybody shit they didn't need.
I have like 2 sales reps in your backlog.
Dude.
You see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
That's the kind of stuff that drives me nuts, because then it's like...
Well, they put the cart for the horse, right?
Well,
like
as much as I want my client to be in the right position, like, we also have to be in the right position.
Yeah.
Because they have to be able to receive just as much as we have to be able to give. And if we're not giving our end of it, then what happens is you make me a liar. And that's the one time in my sales career where I really felt like I'm taken advantage of, I'm sleazy in some way. Like that's the time where I felt the worst. And again, this is somebody who I spent 10 years as a fitness professional. All I did was live off of commissions.
Yeah.
It was because again, fitness is feast or famine all the time.
Yeah.
And you even learn like, hey, everyone's like, oh, I want to get in shape for the summer. Okay, well, your contracts need to really be locked into place by like April, May at the latest.
Yeah.
Because in summer hits, what's going to happen? People go on summer break, they go on vacations, kids are out of school, intramural activities fire up, so parents are trying to figure this shit out. Summer camp. You get all of these different things. You basically lose your clients until August, September when kids go back to school. Yeah. At least my clients, because I had that demographic of parents
for sure.
I work with. But yeah, and so like if you just are not aware of what you can bring to the table, if your stuff is not sound or if you're not right on your end, don't go pitch.
Oh, definitely not.
And that's one thing that I wish I would have done at the company I left video for, is because I really feel like their heart was in the right place. I think they had the right idea. Everything looked good on paper, but practicality told me they were not in a position to catch the new business that was being thrown at them.
Well, that's how those businesses work, though, right? They're like, oh, we have all this revenue coming in, we'll figure it out. No, dude, don't do that, man.
No,
if you get 100, let's say you're a t-shirt company, right? And you're going to sell 100 t-shirts, and I can only make 100 t-shirts.
Yeah. Don't
take payment for 200 t-shirts.
No.
I mean, wait until you have the fucking orders, right? And then make your fucking product and then go. Because
how many companies do you see doing like pre-sales like that? Like, hey, we're only going to have...
I hate that, dude, because you're fucking everybody.
It drives you nuts because you're like, oh, we can only get so many orders, but at the same time, for that company's sake, they're not putting the cart before the horse. We want to see how we can handle 200 orders.
Sure.
Or 20 or whatever it is.
But I hate it though, man, because like what happens is, like, let's say the product is very, very well, right? Yeah. Like, okay, great. I want this product. We did pre-sales. I paid for it. Now I'm not getting it for fucking 3 years. It happened with Fitbit.
Fitbit was like,
yeah.
No shit.
So Fitbit, they did a bunch of pre-sales, right? They did millions of dollars of pre-sales before they even had a prototype.
Oh, that's stupid.
Before they had a prototype.
That's way before the horse.
Okay, and then they went to a VC company, a big bank, and said, hey, we have proof of concept. We've got 4 million orders for this product. We need your money. We need your money, right? We went to a venture capital company.
But they didn't have a prototype.
Well, they had the idea, but they didn't have like a prototype. They just like pitched the idea on like platforms, Kickstarter shit.
I mean, no bullshit. Like, if you can't put the watch on my wrist and I can look at it now, that's not...
But that's my point, man. I hate when people do that, because what happened was, like, the first 1 million customers got their watch in 6 months, whatever.
Sure.
And the other ones... They waited forever. But they still paid. It'd be different if they were like, hey, we're going to put this money in good faith, and whenever it's shit, we'll charge it.
Yeah.
Different story, man.
Yeah, I think people need to handle those in much more ethical ways because, like, I always think there's a company in the jiu-jitsu world called Show Your Roll.
I know that.
Yeah, Show Your Roll makes
gis, right?
Yeah, they make amazing gis. They're really, really good. They're high quality. And their designs and their artwork that they put on, amazing. But they will do pre-orders and they'll say, we're only going to make a batch of this much. And when that's it. And so there's this big rush from a lot of people to get, and I'm sure that they make a little bit more and they put some to the side or they save some for another day for a giveaway or something down the road. But they're very limited in that way, and then they're also kind of exclusive. Like, you have a limited window to get your opportunity in while you have it. They've got enough of a rapport they can get away with that, though. Like, and to your point too, a gi is pretty easy proof of concept. A kimono is going to be a kimono no matter where you go.
Right.
The Fitbit, though, that's new.
Well, let me ask
you.
You
don't even have a tech prototype of it.
Right. Well, let me ask you this. I own a food truck, and let's say I parked outside of the office, okay? Mm-hmm. You want a hot dog. I only sell hot dogs.
Sure.
Okay? Every day I know I only have 300 hot dogs that I sell. Okay?
Right.
You want a hot dog, you come up to me, it's at the end of the day, I'm like, hey man, Mike, I'm sorry, I don't have any hot dogs. But if you pay today, I'll give you one tomorrow. Would you do that?
I might do that, especially if I have like a coupon or receipt that says,
you'd pay me today.
Redeem this for a free hot dog.
You would pay me today for a maybe tomorrow.
If you've got a track record of coming out consistently,
what am I doing?
If it's your first day, probably not. No, I'll just go to the guy down the street with the hot dog.
I would never. I said, okay, come back tomorrow. Cool. I'll just buy you tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give you a fucking money right now if someone's not guaranteed.
Well, again, if I have something that says I can redeem this for it, yeah.
Maybe it's different. But still.
In the situation a little bit, but I totally get what you're saying in the sense of if this is a brand new guy and I've never done business with him before.
Okay, scratch that. Let me clarify.
But no, it's a great point.
No, to your point though, because you made me think about it, right? So, like, for example, okay, what Fitbit should have did was said, hey, you're in our third boarding phase, essentially, right? Like a plane. You're in our third round of ship outs. Mm-hmm. You can expect, for your money now and your commitment now, you can expect your watch in 6 to 8 months.
That's a realistic
expectation. If the hot dog guy said, hey, I'll give you this voucher, I will be here at noon tomorrow, I promise you a guaranteed hot dog. I'll make it for you and set it aside.
I take the voucher.
I would do it. It wouldn't be a problem, right? Because maybe I forget my wallet tomorrow, whatever. Maybe whatever. But if I paid for it now and I have a guarantee, I would most likely do that.
Yes, again, that's my situation now. If he doesn't show up, my ass is going to Quick Trip and I'm getting the $2 or 2 hot dogs for $2 or whatever it is, and I'm never looking at that guy again.
Yep. so, man, I'll tell you, we've talked for almost 2 hours. I'll let you go. I feel like we're just. I feel like I'm keeping you forever. But
no, you're good.
What I want to do in this last couple minutes here is, like, I want you to plug yourself in as much as you can.
Yeah.
I want you to talk about, like, because I'm sure you're taking on new clients now.
I am beginning to take on some new clients, especially for breathwork and coaching in that space.
I think there's a lot of value in what you do. I think you have a lot of knowledge in that industry. I mean, you're a what are you? You're a purple belt?
Brown belt.
You're a brown belt, which is above purple.
Yes.
So to give some credibility for Mike, right? Obviously, I've known him for a couple years now. He's been a great guy, very integrity-based. He's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. If that doesn't tell you his level of dedication to the personal fitness side, I don't know what else can. And as well as he's a pretty smart guy as well, uses his resources. The breathwork thing, I'm going to be definitely picking your brain.
Yeah, I'll send you some stuff along the way too. Yeah.
No bullshit, no placebo here. Like, I just did a very, very entry-level version of it, and I did feel an immediate change. I don't know if you guys could tell, I was more alert after we did it.
Yeah.
I was kind of groggy because I ate.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm a little more alert.
I noticed because you started sitting towards the edge of your chair.
Yeah, instead of, I was like, so there you go. So, like, there you go. I think there is some validity to that.
Uh-huh.
So please, go ahead and plug yourself in, man. How can people find you? Who do you want to work with?
Best place to find me is, I got 2 places in particular. I've been very lax in the social media department, so I'm just going to give you my personal Instagram is going to be at AmazingMikeSTL. Best way to get in touch with me for breathwork coaching. I'm going to be getting some more things going here in the future, but for right now, I think that's the easiest way to get in touch with me. Of course, I'm on Facebook. If you're friends with Nate, you can find me pretty easily.
Reach out to me. I'll send you his way 100% of the time.
100%. Thank you very much, by the way. But as far as who I want to work with, I'm looking for highly motivated individuals, business owners, high performing, like even at like the higher CEO executive levels, or even like I would say middle management types. If you're under a lot of stress and you're under a lot of anxiety and you are in a position where your performance is like the name of the game, then you're the kind of person I like to work with, because being able to take breath work and not only help you see the field better, I like to use the picture in my head of, I picture like this valley, right? And there's like just fog all across it, and you know that there's battles going down, but you don't know which one's yours, and you don't know who's your teammates or whatever. Rather than try to like figure it out, as people like to do, like, oh, I'm going to go down and see who's this. What if we could just blow the fog away? What if we could just get a clear view of the field? To me, that's what breathwork can do for clarity, for mindset, for stress relief, all those things. And just give you a better view of where you fit, give you that general's bird's eye view of the field, I think is so critical, especially in today's workforce. Those are the people that I really like to work with the most, and those are really who I'm going to be working with the next several months. So if you're one of those individuals and you're under a lot of stress and performance is the name of the game, then we should talk, because I want to help you take that to the next level.
Fantastic, man. Also too, real quick, along with that, I want to also thank our first sponsor, Nitrous Motorsports out of Pacific, Missouri. Thank you guys for the sponsorship.
It's your first sponsor.
Yeah, it's fucking awesome. They're a great company, great guys to work with. Can't recommend them enough. For all your automotive needs, Nitrous Motorsports out in the Pacific. Nice. And then if you haven't guys already, do me a favor, like, subscribe, check me out on all different platforms, whatever you got. We're working on getting some other platforms lined up. Spotify, I know we have a couple episodes on there. I'm trying to get back in the swing of that. I ran into an issue. So talk about us, basically talking to your friends. If you think anything that we covered here was awesome, I try to have people like Mike on who are just leaders in this industry. And last thing I'll say, guys, to the audience, if you know of anybody out there that you think would be a good fit for the podcast, on the Be Better Podcast Facebook page, we do have a form you can fill out that goes right to our emails, and we'll check those. And if it's a good fit, we'd love to have you on. There's nobody that's too big or too small or too round or too whatever.
Right.
I mean, everybody is a good fit as long as you kick ass on one of our pillars of category. I'd love to talk to you. It does, like I said, it doesn't matter what you do, but if you excel in one of those, people out there need help. There's a lot of fog in the world, and people need help. People need guidance. People don't know where to start. Like my good friend when we talked about sales, he didn't know where to start. He said, Nate, I've been following you for a little bit. I want to get into sales. What would you do? And I said, listen, I don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
But I know a guy I'm talking to tomorrow that will help me get some of those answers to you.
Yeah, so hopefully this was beneficial for you.
Yeah, I hope it was. But if it's not, then we could have just fucked it up for him too. He could no way I'm getting this sales now.
I think it's nice to at least take the realistic situation. I mean, the world of sales, it's fast paced, it's very rewarding, but man, it can be a grind
it's
too.
It's a brutal reward.
And just again, like jiu-jitsu, I mean, going through the ranks of jiu-jitsu, you're going to have a lot of grind sessions before you start having a lot of fun.
Sure.
But I mean, that's kind of the process. And if you can learn to enjoy the process and just really take it in for what it's worth, you're going to have I don't want to say an easier time, but you're going to make it a better time, and you're going to learn more.
Absolutely.
So.
Well, man, brother, I thank you so much for coming on, man.
I appreciate you having me, man.
Thank you so much for dealing with all the TDs and technical difficulties and stuff. But yeah, guys, if you haven't
already, fun to work through, actually.
Like, subscribe, check us out. Give my boy Mike here a follow. Amazing Mike, not Magic Mike.
Amazing Mike STL.
Amazing Mike STL, not Magic Mike STL. That's a different site. And
I should see if that's claimed, though.
I bet it is. I bet that domain's claimed.
I'm going to go claim that right now.
We're going to go claim that. Thank you guys for tuning in, man. Thanks you.
Guys.
Bye.